Tonight is the big debate. Fetterman versus Dr. Oz. And I know it's a Pennsylvania thing, but we have to watch it. We do. You know, we were talking about it before the show, and we're like, a lot of people are going to want to watch this debate. We got to comment on it. The other day was the DeSantis debate, but that was an hour before our show went live. The thing is, Fetterman cannot understand words that are said to him. So he has to use a special device. And it's sad, you know, but this, a lot of people expect is going to be a disaster of a debate because he has to use this device to see the questions that the moderators will ask and then see what Dr. Oz says in real time. How much you want to bet Dr. Oz tries to say, like, how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood, so that the machine jumbles it and Fetterman's like, I mean, not literally the woodchuck thing, but if Dr. Oz starts speaking too quickly or uses obscure small words followed by larger words and it mashes them together, Fetterman's going to, I don't know what you said, I'm sorry, and he's going to stumble. So we're going to see what he has to offer. The big thing is that they're within 2 points of each other, and considering the margin of error, it effectively means Oz is going to win in Pennsylvania if nothing changes. So Fetterman is desperate. So we're going to watch some of that debate. We'll see how it goes. If it's stupid and pointless, maybe we'll just, talk about something else. We got a bunch of other stories too. We got in Arizona, this is getting crazy. They're upping security at ballot boxes because, at drop boxes, because armed men were seen. Now the Democrats are suing. This is a path towards dangerous escalation. Plus we got Adidas dropping Kanye West's shoes. Kanye West went on the Lex Friedman podcast. We'll talk about all of that. Things are getting particularly interesting. But ladies and gentlemen, before we get started, we have an awesome new sponsor, and it is EstablishedTitles.com. Head over to EstablishedTitles.com/Tim Pool if you would like to be a Lord or Lady of Scotland. I have this very cool proclamation that was sent to me. I guess this means that I'm actually a Lord of Scotland. I don't know what that means for politics here in the United States, but it's cool. It's basically you're buying a square foot of land. Let me read for you what we got here. Established Titles allows you to gain the title of Lord or Lady and officially include it on your credit card, plane tickets, dating profiles, and more. Wow. It's a project based on historic Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lords and ladies. Their title packs give you at least 1 square foot of dedicated land with a unique plot number and on a private estate in Edelston, Scotland, and an official certificate with a crest. So I'm a lord now. I think, does that put me above Count Dankula? I think, does that, or do counts outrank lords?
I think counts are lords too. I could be wrong about that. Yeah, there are all types of lords. There's dukes and counts.
I'm above Count Dankula now. It's official because I got this. To add to that, they're also a fun and novel way to preserve the natural woodlands of Scotland while helping global reforestation efforts. They do this by planting a tree with every order and work with global charities like One Tree Planted in Trees to the Future. Super cool. The first 200 people purchasing a title pack using my link will effectively be next to my plot. Within a few minutes of walking distance, it makes for an amazing last-minute gift. Established Titles is running a massive early Black Friday sale right now. And if you use the code TIMPOOL, you get an additional 10% off. Go to EstablishedTitles.com/TimPool to get your gifts now and help support the channel. It's really cool. We have this little thing. We'll hang it up in here because it's a proclamation. And I think it absolves me of any political responsibilities because I'm a lord in Scotland. So there you go. So again, EstablishedTitles.com/TimPool, but also head over to Timcast.com, become a member. We're going to have that awesome members only show coming up for you at 11 p.m. Uncensored, not so family friendly. And of course, as a member, you're helping support our journalists, which is greatly needed and very important. The debate's getting started soon, so let's just go quick. Joining us tonight to talk about all of this and more is Andrew Kloster. You want to grab your microphone and headphones?
Yeah, sorry.
What happening?
So who are you? What do you do? It's you got to flip it upside down. You got to flip it.
Flip.
No. You have it on.
I have it on.
Nope.
Flip the mic.
This is what we do before the show. Usually
there you go.
Sorry about that.
All right, now.
I'm a neophyte.
Now, who are you?
Hi.
You got to get it pretty close.
Yeah, sure. I'm Andrew Kloster. I'm a lawyer with, I have a C3 called Personnel Policy Operations. I'm DC based. I was in the Trump White House and a number of agencies. So I've been around on the conservative side of public policy for over a decade now and going strong. So glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Right on.
Yeah, you are unprepared. I'm just joking, messing with you. My name is Luke Gradowski here of WeAreChange.org. Unpopular opinion, no politician is coming to save you, and this is why I wore my "If you trust the government, you don't know history" shirt. If you like it, you could get it on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. Because you do, I'm here. Thanks for having me.
I've returned from across the Great Divide to send my love to all of you. Hello, welcome back. I'm Ian Crossland. Good to be here. Andrew, good to meet you, man.
Good to meet you too.
Serge, what's happening, brother?
Hey, Ian. How are you guys doing? Serge.com again. You know where to find me.
Let's pull the debate. The debate's starting.
Oh,
here we go.
I'm running to serve Pennsylvania.
Let me fix the audio.
Pennsylvania. Here's a man that spent more than $20 million
What's
of
going
his
on?
own money to try to buy.
Everybody's
that seat.
laughing.
Aliens.
I'm also having to talk about something called
What's with the audio?
Oz rule. That if he's on TV,
That's not us. That's
he's
the
lying.
that's
definitely not
them.
us.
He did that
That's
during
definitely
his
them. It's not us at
career
all.
On his TV show,
Because we have perfect
He's
feed,
done
and
that
I'm listening to
during
the
his
board
campaign.
Oh
directly.
no, dude.
Our record here.
That's his voice.
And he's also lying probably during
Yeah.
his
What
campaign.
is going on
Let's
with
also
this?
talk about the elephant in the room. I had a stroke. He's never let me forget that. And I might miss some words during this
What?
debate, mush two words together, but it knocked me down, but I'm going to
Wild.
keep coming back
Wow.
up.
Yeah,
All this
I'm in the-
campaign is all about, to me,
What's up?
is
I'm in the
about
board. This is
fighting
definitely
for
them.
every
100%.
Oh, I know,
player
yeah.
in Pennsylvania that
Just
ever
everyone
got
in the
knocked
chat is
down,
aware.
that needs to get back up and fighting for all forgotten communities all
That's
across
them.
Pennsylvania
Yeah,
that also
not us
got
at all.
knocked down, that needs to get back up.
Yo, their
Thank you very much,
audio,
Mr. Fetterman.
their audio is all screwed up.
A businessman and television personality. But this is your first run for elected
Listen to that
office.
aliasing.
What qualifies you to be a U.S. Senator from Pennsylvania?
They sound like
You have
aliens.
60 seconds.
I'm running for the U.S. Senate because Washington keeps getting it wrong with extreme
this to even the playing
positions.
field?
I want to bring civility, balance, all of the things that you want to see because you've been telling it to me on the
What's up with the
campaign
audio
trail.
is so busted.
And by doing that, we can bring us together in a way that has not been done.
Yo,
otherwise.
are they throwing it for
Republicans
Fetterman?
talking to each
I don't
other.
know. It could be
John
many things.
Fetterman
There's a lot of things in
takes
this chain
everything
going
to
up here, but
extremes,
it's
and those
definitely
extremes
not us.
I would not be
hurt us.
surprised
Let's
if they're
take
tanking the
crime as an
audio on
example, because it's
purpose
been such a big
because of
problem.
this.
That would be wild.
Maureen Faulkner
Someone- yeah,
accompanied me
I
today to the
understand
studio.
Dude,
this the
come on, you mean to
official-
tell me that WPXI, this is like a local news station, just all of a sudden, they do audio every day for hours and they can't get the audio right now.
Yep.
Trying to get as many murderers.
Let's try and find a better one. Look at that, there's nothing.
I felt bad about
Yeah,
flubbing
I can't
my
even-
headphones, but
Yeah.
No, you're all right.
They're fine. We're just messing
Yo,
with you.
this is
Not
crazy.
too bad.
What a waste of our time. Oh no, they want us to watch ads now?
All right. Goya.
Please fix the audio.
I'm a big fan of beans.
to raising our taxes.
Oh, that's from the source. Oh my.
What if they are robots and not humans?
Now you're talking my language.
Or they live aliens.
Lisa.
All right,
Yeah, I think the-
gentlemen.
All right, can someone try and find a different stream, I guess?
I'm looking right now. I can't. I'm looking it up on YouTube. Nothing really even comes up. What about the news site's
Our
website?
next star, Emerson College, The Hill poll. The economy and inflation are the biggest concerns for voters.
What is up with this?
39% of them
WPX.
listed that as the top issue. Beginning with you,
W,
Mr. Oz.
WPXI?
You have blamed President Biden and
Is that a
reckless
one or a?
Democratic spending for the inflation.
I wonder if it's.
If you go on their website, there you go. Wait.
No?
People are saying the audio is good for them in the chat from that feed, but for us it sounds like so alias. It's weird.
Audio's
really
perfect.
garbage.
No,
you-
people were saying in the chat on their feed, please fix the audio, and they're laughing, saying it's all jacked up.
Weird.
What's
No,
going
it's on their main website on the top left corner.
Some people are saying the audio is fine.
Right
from
there.
I can't.
I'll tell
actually
you,
listen to
they
the
have
video
4%
There we
waste
go.
and
That's
fraud.
what-
Now,
that's
I've
good.
traveled
That sounds
over
good.
the Commonwealth and spoken to countless people.
Now,
There was
how
a
do I
lady
make
in
it
Beaver
bigger
County
than
at a
that?
county fair who told me
Does that little
with fear
square
in
at
her
the bottom
heart
work
that she
or
wanted to
no?
provide food
Yeah,
for her
but-
son's highly
Oh, I see.
nutritious
Yeah, it's
chicken.
gonna
She
do
wanted
that.
she couldn't afford it
We'll
anymore.
take it.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a
fine
big
for now.
problem. If we've got 4% waste and fraud,
She had
we ought
some
to
crudité
be
she
able to
couldn't
take care of
afford.
that. John Fetterman's, however, response continually is to raise taxes.
have a feeling it's gonna be really
He raised
boring.
taxes as mayor. He tried to raise taxes as lieutenant governor, 46%. That's a big tax rate. He supported Joe Biden's recent tax rate increase, and he's done that without paying his own taxes 67 times. I'll say that again. He hasn't paid his own taxes 67 times, but he's raising mine and yours. Those are radical positions. They're extreme. They're out of touch with the values of Pennsylvanians. And I can make the difficult decisions, as you do in the operating room as a surgeon.
boring.
I'll make them
Yeah.
cutting our budget as well.
Debates
to make
where they
sure we don't
insult
have
each
to raise
other.
taxes on a population
get there.
who
Not
are
into it.
desperately
Trump back.
in pain from the high inflation rate.
They'll get there.
Mr. Fetterman, I will allow a 15-second rebuttal. He has specifically said you have not paid your taxes.
That's a
and
good
that you
thing.
want to raise-
I like Fetterman because of that. Fetterman, yes, there we go, man. Here, you got my vote now.
Oz rule, of course, he's lying. It was helping two students 17 years ago to help them, buy their own homes. They didn't pay the bills, and it got her paid. And it has never been an issue
no.
in
It
any
starts.
of the campaign before.
This is dark.
It was all about nonprofit.
All right, thank you, Mr.
Whoa,
Fetterman.
this is rough,
Continuing
dude.
with you,
I
Mr.
can't
Fetterman,
believe they're
your
doing this, man.
opponent
This is
has
bad.
criticized Democratic spending, as you heard.
Right
Has
out the
the
gate.
Biden administration overspent? And if so, where do you think spending should be cut? You have 60 seconds.
No, here's what I think we have to fight
come
about
on.
inflation here right now. That's what we need to fight about, inflation. Right now, because it's a tax on working families. And Dr. Oz can't possibly understand what that is like. He has 10 gigantic mansions. We must push back against corporate greed. We must make sure that we're also pushing back against price gouging as well too.
If it goes on like
we
this,
also be able to make more
This is
in
gonna make me
Pennsylvania,
sad,
make
man. I'm
more
actually starting to
in
feel really sad.
America. When he had a choice to
This is
make
wrong.
his
How long is this
merchandise,
debate?
the
An
Oz
hour, I think?
label is
supposed
on.
to be an hour.
He made it all in China. Who can you believe that can fight against inflation and pushing back against corporate greed, or somebody that is choosing working in China versus over American workers?
All right, I will allow a
Wow.
15-second
It's like that
rebuttal
kid
to
in high
his
school
comments
getting
that
up
you have been
for the
making
first
things in
time.
China. Mr.
and you
Oz.
feel bad.
That
I've
was
been trying to
sad,
talk about
Very
policy
sad,
issues
you know?
with the people of Pennsylvania. As a doctor, I listen to their ideas and I want to talk about them. When John Fetterman brings up houses, the irony is he didn't pay for his own house. He got it for $1 from his sister. And he hasn't been able to earn a living on his own. He's lived off his parents. So it's not a topic that we should be debating on the stage. We should be talking about crime and inflation, the issues that are hurting Pennsylvanians that they're talking about at their kitchen table.
Fetterman probably did that not to pay taxes.
That's right. He got
That's right.
his
Why is Dr. Oz being like, pay more taxes?
from $1.
Mr.
That's
Fetterman, we have to
typical.
continue on. We'll continue on with a follow-up question to you, Mr. Oz. This one is just for you. You tweeted in August that you will never stop fighting to lower gas prices for Pennsylvanians. Does that include supporting a suspension of the federal gas tax? You have 30 seconds.
I'm supportive of reducing taxes, but we want to be thoughtful about the long-term game plan to get gas taxes down and, frankly, all energy prices down. I have gone around the Commonwealth. I've witnessed people say, I'm not going on vacation this year because I can't afford to pay to take my trailer to the campground. They can't even get there. What we have to do is ensure that we don't have increased inflation, and the best way to do that is reduce gas prices. John Fetterman has gone after the energy industry, called it a stain on Pennsylvania, and argued we have to ban fracking. That is disconnected from
All right.
Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Mr. Oz. We will get to the issue of fracking later on in this discussion. But meantime, turning back to you, Mr. Fetterman, for a follow-up. In an op-ed for the Wilkes-Barre Times Leader, you wrote, quote, "It is time we crack down on the big price gouging corporations that are making record profits while jacking up prices for all of us." How do you plan to do this, sir? You mentioned going after price gouging corporations. How do you plan to do this? You have 30 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. We have to keep pushing back on that. And he would never make that choice to fight for families here in Pennsylvania. He has never met an oil company that he doesn't swipe right about.
What?
He has never been able to stand up for working families all across Pennsylvania. We must push back. Inflation has hurt Americans and Pennsylvania's families, and it has given the oil companies record profits.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fetterman. Turning to the next issue, Dennis.
I'm kind of thinking we just call it.
I'm open to that.
We call it.
It's going to be a lot more of this.
Watching.
An hour of that? I don't
No,
know
we
if I
can't
can
do
take
it.
that.
We can't
That's
do it.
too much.
I'm sorry, everybody.
National level currently sits at $7.25 an hour.
No,
So-
we're just gonna have to. We're gonna stop.
John
that.
Fetterman's
Yeah.
in recovery from a stroke. That should be the topic of that should be the main topic of the debate. I mean,
They should
it's a
be the main
doctor
topic.
and a guy that's recovering from a stroke on stage. How can they not be talking about that? That's so important.
It's embarrassing.
That last sentence. I'm actually starting to feel sad.
Yeah.
Watching this, like I feel really bad. I'm like, come on, man. Like,
I don't want to make a spectacle out of the guy, but he's doing it to himself by running for office. He's basically like, what are we supposed to do? We have to point out the inadequacies.
Yo, we had planned on watching that debate. I'm sorry if you guys wanted to. I figured that most people would probably want to see it, considering it's a prominent Senate race. It's very close. We have here, if we can pull this up, the 538
just
polling.
right
That Fetterman's up 2.3 points, but considering the huge error in polling, that it's probably going to swing towards Oz. So we figured this would be important. I didn't think it was going to be that bad.
Yeah, that was painful to watch.
I really did not think it was going to be that bad.
I was uncomfortable. I was like, I didn't feel easy because how do you comment on that? You know,
I'm not making fun of that guy.
What do you say?
You can't make fun of someone like that in that situation.
Yeah,
but you do have to call out. You know, I think there's a bigger story to this. We talked about this a couple days ago, specifically about the big powers and the big interests pushing individuals, because there was a lot of powerful individuals that invested into him, and I could see him being pushed by those special interests to be on stage when clearly he shouldn't be. You know,
I thought Biden also was pushed, although I don't have evidence. Do you guys have any evidence of him
Obama said to Biden, "You don't have to do this."
And his wife apparently
he
is
walked
miserable.
off and got lost today at the White House lawn
it was
again.
hilarious.
And there's a meme posted about this specifically, being like, you know, he has no people that love him, because if he did, they would make sure he wouldn't be working the most stressful job at his old age, when clearly he's having a lot of problems.
This is what I think. You know, when we talk about the fall of empire, the end of the country, or the cultural collapse, or whatever it is you want to call it, it's not some tyrannical psychopath the way the left screams about fascism. It is Fetterman. It is Biden. Yo, I got to say it again. Like, we were talking about it. We were downstairs. You know, we're in the green room. We're getting ready before the show, playing pool and stuff. And I'm like, you know, Kellen, who does production stuff for us, was like, "Oh, hey, the debates tonight." And I'm like, "Oh, we definitely got to watch that. It's going to be a big one, right?" We would have watched the DeSantis one. It probably would have been bigger. And then I'm, you know, Luke was like, "I don't know." And I said, "Look, Fetterman's going to be using this special device. It's going to get interesting." That was brutal.
Yeah.
That was way worse. You couldn't even listen to it. You can't even listen to it. There's no point. I don't know, man. Maybe we need to make people listen to it. But I assume most people who watch this already know. But I'm glad in a sense they are doing the debate, because as bad as it is for Fetterman, there are a lot of people who need to watch that. They need to watch that and be like, okay, this is not a meme. It's not a joke. The dude could not talk or understand. I don't even know what the last thing he responded to about what was it? I don't even know what he was saying. Yeah. That he didn't know he could oil he would swipe right on, and I'm like,
like Tinder. I guess he's saying like if it was a Tinder and Oz is swiping right on the oil companies, but then he said America when he meant Pennsylvania, and it was
so they prepared him. He had some canned lines, but I mean that's brutal. And there are thousands of people in Pennsylvania.
What are they thinking?
That have nothing else to watch right now. You know, I'm sure they got a lot of other stuff.
And
to
this
watch,
is the beginning.
They're going to watch it.
I mean, debates are tough. They're really difficult for your mind to process a lot of information very quickly. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of things you need to really hone in on and to be at your peak mental ability in order to proceed. This could be interfering in his rehabilitation. This could be interfering in healing.
Thank you.
Some people want us to keep it running.
I guess we can.
Press 1 if you want us to keep us running. Press 2 if you don't want us to keep.
People are saying
running.
watch it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, dude. Like I'm getting really sad. Yo, like Fetterman is a personable guy, right? He comes off like a regular guy, and I don't have any animosity toward the guy. I think he's got bad policies, but watching this is like,
I've been in the room when
you know,
difficult conversations happening.
It kind of reminds me of like watching a dude who was like a great baseball player who got in a car accident, and then him hobbling on the field and everyone clapping, being like, go for it, and then he falls over and falls on the ground. And everyone's just watching. I'm like, bro, come on.
There's more ones than twos, but there's also a lot of twos.
Federally
mandated.
I just think we have to watch it.
They have to follow.
Was one
I think people want us to play it. We're going to play it.
It would force it to be subsidized
by
taxpayers across the country, no matter what their personal beliefs are. That's radical. That's extreme. That is out of touch
We're gonna play
with
it,
what
man.
the average voter in Pennsylvania believes is appropriate. Now, ironically, John Fetterman's been running ads on this topic, dishonest ads. I need to correct the record. They were so bad, they got pulled off television stations. Even on this station, he was running dishonest ads that I had pulled off. I haven't had a single ad pulled down. My ads tell the truth. John Fetterman's are a fiction of his imagination.
All right. I'm going to let Mr. Fetterman respond specifically about the ads being pulled off the air, and then we will return to you, Mr. Oz. Mr. Fetterman.
Yeah. I want to look into the face of every woman in Pennsylvania. You know, if you believe that the choice of your reproductive freedom belongs with Dr. Oz, then you have a choice. But if you believe that the choice for abortion belongs between you and your doctor, that's what I fight for. Roe v. Wade, for me, should be the law. He celebrated when Roe v. Wade went down, and my campaign would fight for Roe v. Wade, and if given the opportunity, to codify it into law.
That wasn't so bad.
Thank you, Mr. Fetterman. Going back to you, I want to circle back to something that you said, Mr. Oz.
He was missing the last
mentioned
part
the
of the
decision
sentence.
to regulate abortion should be something that is left up to the states. Now, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham has introduced a federal bill to ban abortion after 15 weeks. I know that you've been asked about this question before. If the vote were held today,
It's a McConnell
you were
question.
elected senator, you're on the Senate floor, the clerk calls you, there's a roll call vote. Are you a yay or a nay? How would you vote on the Lindsey Graham bill? You have 30 seconds.
Lisa, I don't even need 30 seconds. I'll give you a bigger answer. I am not going to support federal rules that block the ability of states to do what they wish to do. The abortion decision should be left up to states, and specifically when John Fetterman...
You roll with Doug Mastriano.
John, when I'm done, John, you'll have your turn,
Mr.
John.
One moment, Mr. Fetterman. Continue, Mr.
I've been
Oz.
very clear on my desire as a physician not to interfere with how states decide. So when John purposely, knowingly misrepresents that to women, he scares them. He's purposely trying to alarm them, and the fear-mongering isn't working. Running tens of millions of dollars of ads claiming that I'm against all abortions when he knows that's not right, claiming that I'm going to be strict with Pennsylvania when he knows that's not honest. I can't be any clearer than I've been on the stage today. John Fetterman, if you just hear that one story today, I'd be really happy, but I know you're not going to, because you're going to go right back to telling the fables that you believe.
Mr. Oz, I want a 15-second clarification. You are saying that you would leave it up to the states, that the federal government does not have a role here. So are you saying you would not vote for the Lindsey Graham bill?
Any bill that violates what I said, which is the federal government interfering with the state rule on abortion, I would vote against. What I feel strongly about is that women in Pennsylvania understand what I'm saying and not believe that someone who's taken an extreme position like John Fetterman represents them, because most women do not believe that we should, at a federal level, codify 38 weeks of permission to have an abortion and have taxpayers pay for it.
So a yes or no on the Lindsey Graham bill?
I think I've answered this very, very clearly 3 times, Lisa.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. Oz.
He said he wouldn't support it.
Turning to you, Mr. Fetterman, you have frequently stated your belief that abortion should be safe and legal. Do you support any limits on when a woman can have an abortion? Please explain in 60 seconds.
2 different monitors.
What I support on Roe v. Wade. That was the law of the land for 50 years. He celebrated when it fell down, and I would fight to reestablish on Roe v. Wade. That's what I run on. That's what I believe, and I've always believed that the choice believes women and their doctors. And he believes that the choice should be with him or Republican legislators all across this nation.
I do respect
I'm sorry, I must correct that. Once again, he's misrepresented what I've said, but he also said something very dishonest. On this debate stage, he said very specifically, in his primary debate, when he was still debating, that he would support 38 weeks of mandated rules by the federal government that would prevent any state from blocking it. So that's not Roe versus Wade.
That's not true. I support Roe v. Wade. That's the simple.
John, you said specifically you would support a federal rule of 38 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's important that John at least acknowledge that he's not honest here, because you said the opposite on TV.
Mr. Oz, we must continue on. Mr. Fetterman, turning to you, we have a follow-up question. Would you support allocating federal funds to transport women who live in states where abortion is banned to states where they can get one, and why? 30 seconds.
I would. I would, because I believe abortion rights is a universal right for all women in America. I believe that abortion is health care, and I believe that that is a choice that belongs with each woman and their doctor.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fetterman. Turning to the next issue, Dennis.
Thank you, Lisa. Let's turn to what has become one of the key themes of this race, fitness to serve. For these individual questions, there will be no rebuttals allowed. Mr. Fetterman, we begin with you. You suffered, as you mentioned a moment ago, a stroke 4 days before the May primary. Last week, you released this note from your doctor saying you can work full duty in public office, but you have not released your detailed medical records.
The doctor is a donor to his campaign, by the way.
Mr. Fetterman, will you pledge tonight to release those records in the interest of transparency? You have 60 seconds.
No. To me, for transparency is about showing up. I'm here today to have a debate. I have, speeches in front of 3,000 people in Montgomery County, all across Pennsylvania, big crowds. I believe if my doctor believes that I'm fit to serve And that's what I believe is appropriate. And now with 2 weeks before the election, I have run a campaign and I've been very transparent about being very open about the fact we're in use captioning. And I believe that, again, my doctors, the real doctors that I believe in, they all believe that I'm ready to be served.
Whoa! I didn't hear you say you would
ready to be
release your
served.
full medical records. Why not? You have 30 seconds.
No, again, my Dr. L believes that I'm fit to be serving, and that's what I believe is where I'm standing.
Okay, Mr. Fetterman, thank you. Mr. Oz, you have built a lucrative career around medicine, but you've been criticized even by some fellow physicians for promoting, quote, unproven, ill-advised, and at times potentially dangerous treatments. What is your response to that? You have 60 seconds.
One of the great blessings of traveling around Pennsylvania is you run into people who have watched the show. They thank me very much for giving them life-saving advice on chronic issues like high blood pressure or dealing with their anxiety. The show did very well because it provided high-quality information that empowered people, which was exactly what I want to do when I'm a senator. Give people the power. Let them make decisions for their well-being. Now, John Fetterman's approach to health is a very dangerous one. He believes we should socialize medicine. He embraced this with Bernie Sanders, who he endorsed. The two candidates called themselves the two most progressive people in America. When you have socialized medicine, Dennis, you shut down the ability of people to get access to health care. Doctors stop practicing. There are no medications
defer my
available. The
time
lines
to
get long.
Fetterman.
It's a disaster, and it puts people at risk. So I don't believe we should allow
I wonder if they're asking him
medicine,
about the
abolition
transition of
all
kids
private
that he was
healthcare
promoting
insurance
10 years
in
ago.
America. And radical positions like the ones taken
talking
by
about Fetterman or
John
Oz?
Fetterman make it
Oz.
too extreme to serve. If we're going to bring balance to Washington, you got to bring people who understand the ramifications. Even Joe Biden called John Fetterman's idea, I'll quote him, preposterous.
Mr. Fetterman, I'm going to let you respond in just a minute, but I have a follow-up for you first, Mr. Oz. Did you or your company make a profit from promoting those products? You have 30 seconds.
I never sold weight loss products as described in those commercials. It's a television show. Like this is a television show, so people can run commercials on the shows.
But that's not the question.
And that's a perfectly appropriate and very transparent process. I ruffled a lot of feathers on my show because I told people the truth, and I'm proud of that. I'll do the exact same thing as a U.S. senator. But there's no way to defend what John Fetterman has done with socialized medicine. That is a radical departure from what we in America have accepted. And relationship between you, John, you'll have your turn. John, let me finish.
I must respond to that.
There must be a relationship between a doctor and a patient, and that's what I would direct patients to do.
Thank you. Mr. Fetterman, he accused you of socialized medicine, supporting socialized medicine. What is your response?
Again, it's the Oz rule. He's on TV and he's lying. I never supported any of that thing. He keeps talking about Bernie Sanders. 3 years ago he was on his show and he hugged him and he said, "I love this guy." You know what? Why don't you pretend that you live in Vermont instead of Pennsylvania and run against Bernie Sanders? Because all you can do is talk about Bernie Sanders. Because my truth is that healthcare is a basic fundamental right, and I believe in expanding that, and I believe about fighting for healthcare, the kind of healthcare that saved my life.
Dennis, that was dishonest. He explicitly supported socialized medicine.
Mr. Oz, we have a lot of topics to get to. I think we did this. Lisa, you go ahead.
We are going to move on to the next topic, and this has come up earlier, and that is the issue of fracking. Pennsylvania only trails Texas in terms of natural gas production. Both of you have taken shifting positions on the issue of fracking. Mr. Oz, we begin with you. You wrote a column in 2014 calling for no fracking pending health study results. But in a video posted on social media in March, you said, quote, natural gas guarantees high-paying skilled jobs right here in Pennsylvania, so back off Biden. Give us freedom to frack. Mr. Oz, please explain that changing position. 60 seconds.
I've been very consistent. Fracking has been demonstrated. It's a very old technology to be safe. It is a lifeline for this Commonwealth to be able to build wealth, similar to what they've been able to achieve in other states. For that reason, I strongly support fracking, drilling, the piping of that natural gas. In fact, I'd build a facility even in Philadelphia so we can export it to our allies and help them, the ones that are struggling now in Eastern and Western Europe because of the Ukrainian war. John Fetterman calls fracking a stain on Pennsylvania. He says that he would sign a moratorium to ban its continued use. He's against pipelines. He supported the vote against the Keystone Pipeline that ended up shutting it down. He supports Biden's desire to ban fracking on public lands, which are our lands, all of our lands together. This is a extreme position on energy. If we unleashed our energy here in Pennsylvania, it would help everybody. Why John Fetterman is so rigidly stuck on fighting against energy companies is stunning to me, because it's the jobs I want. Tens of thousands of high-paying jobs to help Pennsylvanians.
Thank you, Mr.
Again,
Oz.
Oz rule.
Mr. Fetterman, 15
I
seconds.
absolutely support fracking. In fact, I live across the street from a steel mill, and they were going to frack to create their own energy in order to make them more competitive. And I support that, living closer to anybody else in Pennsylvania for fracking to myself. I believe that we need independence with energy, and I believe I've walked that line my entire career. I believe Democrats...
Mr. Fetterman, I do have a specific question which you can continue on this topic, but you have made two conflicting statements regarding fracking. In a 2018 interview, you said, quote, I don't support fracking at all. I never have. But earlier this month, you told an interviewer, quote, I support fracking. I support the energy independence that we should have here in the United States. So, Mr. Fetterman, please explain your changing position. 60 seconds.
Good question and good job by her.
I've always supported fracking. And I always believe that independence with our energy is critical, and we can't be held, ransom to somebody like Russia. I've always believed that energy independence is critical, and I've always believed that, and I do support fracking. I've never taken any money from their industry, but I support how critical it is that we produce our own energy and create energy independence.
I must correct the record.
Just a second, Mr. Oz. I do want to clarify something. You're saying tonight that you support fracking, that you've always supported fracking, but there is that 2018 interview that you said, quote, I don't support fracking at all. So how do you square the two?
Good job.
It's his truth.
My lived experience.
I do support fracking, and
I love fracking.
I support fracking.
I frack
and
all
I
the
stand,
time.
and I do support fracking.
Okay,
Whoa.
thank you, Mr. Fetterman.
I'm sorry, Lisa. There's not just a
Look, one
statement
was
you read.
before
There
the
are
primary.
multiple pictures of him signing.
We
a
have to go.
moratorium.
We have to move on.
But we have to get the fundamentals of the truth out here. John
We have
Fetterman
a lot
over
of
and over again
topics. We
took
have a lot of
positions against
topics.
energy.
We have a lot of topics. You will have a chance to have that in your
There may
closing.
one comment then. The energy
We
industry is
have
living
to
in
move
fear
on.
of
We
John
must move
Fetterman.
on,
I want to
Dennis.
know why.
On to the
Mr.
new
Oz,
topic.
we want to now turn to public safety. Mr. Fetterman,
Oh, man.
Republicans have called you dangerously soft on crime. The Pennsylvania State Troopers Association
painful.
has endorsed Democrat Josh Shapiro for governor. But in this race, it endorsed your Republican opponent, Mr. Oz. What is your response to those endorsements? And what is your response to accusations that you are, quote, dangerously soft on crime? You have 60 seconds.
Personally chase down
I believe that I ran on my record on crime.
every criminal.
I ran to be mayor. Back
I
in
ran after a guy
2005
with a shotgun?
in order to fight gun violence, and that's exactly what I did. And working with the police and working with our community, I was able to stop gun violence for 5.5 years as mayor. Ever accomplished before or since my time as mayor, because I'm the only person on this stage right now that was successful about pushing back against gun violence and being the community more safe. All
Being
he's
the
done
community
is just
more
put
safe.
a plan
Okay.
up on
He's got me. He
his
sold me.
website in the last 24 hours. He has no experience. He has never made any attempt to try to address crime during his entire career, except showing up
This is
for
insane.
photo ops here in Philadelphia.
He voted for
We'll give you
convicted
15
murderers to be
seconds
released from
respond
jail.
to that, and then I have a
Are we
question for you.
supposed to translate
Control
for
order of
Fetterman?
police from Braddock, the small town he represented, endorsed me. They supported me because what he's saying is not true. Violence skyrocketed in Braddock. I mean, the town wasn't in a good shape when John got there. It got worse when he was there. People kept leaving. So, of course, you're going to have all kinds of aberrations. But, John, the city was dangerous under your leadership, and that's why
All right,
the
I want to
FOP
turn to you
endorsed
now.
me.
Mr. Oz, this past summer, Congress passed the first gun control bill in decades. That would not have happened without the support of the man you are running to replace Pat Toomey. How would you have voted on that bill? And would you
Constitutional
continue
carry.
Toomey's legacy as being one of the lead Republicans in Congress on pushing for gun reforms? You have 60 seconds.
I have been supported by Pat Toomey. I've enjoyed working with him. I think he's done a wonderful job. There are parts of that bill that I like a lot. For example, I like the fact that there are background checks that are being strengthened now, so we can make sure that people who should not have guns don't get guns. I also like the fact that there was a lot of money invested for mental health, which is an important part of the equation. I've been to Philadelphia. I've done prayer vigils with black clergy leaders who are desperately trying to save the people in their community. Half the murders in Philadelphia are committed by people under 18. We have got to get mental health services to these people, and it's not happening now. But part of the problem is that we have taken away the ability of police to do their job, and that's on John Fetterman. Because John Fetterman has taken such a harsh position against them. He's undermined them at every level, taken away some of their funding. He's pushed for Krasner, who he admires tremendously, and he's spoken highly of him just this week. He's taken his policies to a new extreme. He's argued that people should be let out of jail without any bail, no matter what they did to get in there. He's argued to release one-third of all prisoners. One-third of all prisoners out of touch.
Quickly, 15 seconds. Would you have voted for that Pat Toomey?
I bet he's a Scottish Lord.
I would have tried to improve that bill. There are things that I think most of us appreciate. I wasn't there at the time, so I can't speak to what was possible. But I do know there are parts of that bill that do make sense, and the ones I described should be followed. Let's see how it works out.
Okay, thank you. Lisa.
On to
I don't
our
agree
next
with them,
issue,
but
and that is
you should have said
illegal
unconstitutional.
immigration. It has been a problem
that's it.
in the United States for decades, but it is now spiking. U.S. Customs and Border Protection just released numbers from fiscal year 2022. They show more than 2.7 million total enforcement actions in the U.S. That is the most ever. Mr. Oz, beginning with you. Republican governors in the South have been sending migrants to Democratic-run cities and states without a plan or without any coordination. It is certainly gaining a lot of attention, but is it an effective way to deal with the influx of migrants? You have 60 seconds.
Lisa, we have a catastrophe at the border, and we should not have sanctuary cities as John Fetterman has tried to introduce. But I've been into the parts of Philadelphia and Allentown and Reading where we have large Latino populations. I understand the challenges of the border. My father was an immigrant. My mother were immigrants. I understand what legal immigration offers us, but the completely porous, open nature of our border, which John Fetterman supports, has created a humanitarian crisis with cartels profiting with human trafficking operations. They take the money, they buy narcotics from China and bring that into our country, and it's making every state a border state. Pennsylvania is already a border state because we're top 3 in the country in fentanyl overdoses.
I just feel like
I can't go
we should secure the border.
anywhere
Thank you.
Where
John,
giving a big event where I don't meet multiple people who say their personal lives have been destroyed because of fentanyl overdoses. Yet John Fetterman not only wants an open border,
that's what I'm saying. Like this is
cities, but he wants to legalize all hard drugs in America, incling narcotics.
I think he's warmed up, though. I think Fetterman's warmed
out
up.
Of touch with everybody. That radical position was tried in Oregon, which he endorsed. 50% homicide increase rate.
One moment. I will give a 15-second rebuttal.
Yeah, that is, again, the Oz rule. That is just not true. Here, his family's company was levied the largest fine for immigration hiring of immigrant illegals.
Hiring Greeks.
Oh my!
And I think he should sit this one out about in terms of what a
Turkish. I don't think he was hiring
secure border.
What did he even just say?
How long ago was the stroke?
For you, Mr.
Couple months ago?
Vice
In
President Kamala Harris
That's
says
insane, man.
the southern border is secure,
7 months.
yet we are seeing an unprecedented number of migrants crossing. Is the border secure? And if not, what would you do to fix what both parties are calling a crisis? You have 60 seconds, Mr. Fetterman.
I believe that a secure border can be compatible with compassion. I believe we need a comprehensive and bipartisan solution for immigration. That's what I believe. I don't ever recall in the Statue of Liberty did they say, take our tired, huddled masses and put them on a bus and use cheap political stunts about them. I believe we have to develop a comprehensive and bipartisan solution to address our issue here for immigration here in our nation.
The memes tomorrow are going to be insane.
On to the next issue.
There's so much content in the room.
Everything he says is going to be a meme. They're going to make songs about it.
Now to foreign policy. Mr.
This is
Fetterman,
sick.
What do you believe is the greatest foreign threat to the United States of America? You have 60 seconds.
Dr. Oz.
If he says
I believe is right now is China. I believe China is not our friend, and I believe that we can't be able to push back, and we need to stand against China. And I believe that Dr. Oz has chosen to manufacture all of his merchandise on his name on it in China. Which one of us on this stage is going to stand up against and stand firm against China? And I believe that's our single biggest issue right now, to make sure that we address China and make sure that we know that it's not our friend.
Mr. Oz, what do you believe is the greatest foreign threat to the United States of America? You have 60 seconds.
The fact that our country is not projecting strength. Take, for example, what we're doing with Iran. In order to try to get them to give us a little oil so we can deal with the catastrophe that Russia has caused, we have gone to them and tried to sign a deal that would allow them once again to have the nuclear power to blow up Israel, which they promised they would do. John Fetterman supports that deal. It doesn't make any sense for America to treat our enemies better than our allies. We have to message with our strong voice and the energy we have in our country that we have control over our future. And the best way for America to establish its dominance is to unleash the energy here in Pennsylvania and across the country. By not doing that, not only do we cause all kinds of problems with local jobs and inflation, but we're destroying our ability to remain energy dominant, and we're not able to become allies like we should be for countries like European nations, which are going to struggle with their coldest winter ever. It's the best way to punch Putin back and to teach China a lesson is American energy to reign supreme. And John Fetterman doesn't like American energy, and they are scared of him because they know they can't trust him.
They keep calling him Mr. Oz, but he's a doctor.
He's literally a doctor.
On to our next issue. In our recent Next Star poll, a hypothetical rematch between Joe Biden and Donald Trump in 2024
look at that, Trump wins,
would be a statistical tie in Pennsylvania. 46% of people said they would vote for former President Trump, 45% for President Biden. Mr. Oz, would you support a Trump 2024 run, and why 60 seconds?
I'll support whoever the Republican Party puts up. And I have reached out across the aisle on my campaign because I want to bring balance to Washington. And I've tried to work with Democrats and Republicans and people in the middle, and people unsure, and people who forgot, and people who got angry with where their party was headed. I want to bring us together to make this country do what it's always been able to do. Unify, not divide. And address the problems as a surgeon, because in the OR, that's what I do. I just fix the big problem in front of me. John Fetterman, however, cannot go to Washington and work with the other side because he doesn't even get along with his own side. He criticized Joe Biden for not spending enough money and not sidling up close enough to Bernie Sanders. He says he won't work with Joe Manchin. He said if you like Joe Manchin, don't vote for me. So if you're picking fights with your own party, you're not going to be able to reach across the aisle to the other side. His extreme positions have made him untenable for Republican lawmakers. We need to send someone to Washington who understands the importance of balance, sensible decision-making, and a common sense approach to the challenges that we all face. That's not John Fetterman.
Mr. Oz,
you drive a hard
Trump
bargain,
has
Oz.
supported you. He has endorsed you. Why won't you fully commit to supporting him in 2024?
Oh, I do. I would support Donald Trump if he decided to run for president.
All right.
But this is bigger than one candidate. This is a much bigger story about how we are going to build a bigger tent to let more Americans feel safe.
Are you concerned about the ongoing legal investigations involving the former president? 30 seconds, sir.
I haven't followed them very carefully. I've been campaigning pretty aggressively.
Good answer.
They'll work themselves out. I have tremendous confidence in the American legal system, and I believe law and order will reign supreme. But speaking about that topic, there's one person on this stage who's broken the law, we believe. John Fetterman took a shotgun, chased a unarmed African-American man, and put the gun, apparently, according to that man, to his chest. John, you weren't pulled over by the police. They let you go. You were the mayor at the time. Why haven't you apologized to that unarmed, innocent black man who you put a shotgun to his chest?
Whoa! We'll allow a 30-second response to that, Mr. Fetterman, specifically what he was saying, referring to the incident in Braddock.
I made the opportunity to defend our community as the chief law enforcement officer there.
From fireworks.
Everybody in Braddock, an overwhelming majority community of black community, all understood what happened. You know, they understood what happened, and everybody agreed that, and nobody believes that it was anything about me making a split-second decision to defend our community as well.
Why not apologize?
Mr. Oz, please. We are still with Mr. Fetterman. Turning to you right now, you support a Biden run. Do you support a Biden run in 2024? Why in 60 seconds?
That's honestly, it's up to his choice whether he, and if he does choose to run, I would absolutely support him. But ultimately, that's ultimately only his choice.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fetterman. A follow-up question on this. Our Next Star poll shows 51% of Pennsylvania voters disapprove of the president's job performance. You have publicly supported many of his policy positions. Are there any that you disagree with? 30 seconds.
That's good.
Who can type this fast?
Does not compute.
No, I just believe he needs to do more about supporting and fighting about inflation. And I do believe he can do more about that. But at the end of the day, I think Joe Biden is a good family man, and I believe he stands for the union way of life. And I believe that unemployment is already down to the lowest level in the last 50 years.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Dennis.
Speech to text.
Let's turn now, gentlemen, to the issue of Social Security. It is only fully funded through 2034.
It seems like he is.
Many Americans are
Actually, Biden would
that they will
disagree with
never
that
receive
statement.
their full benefit or have to accept cuts to their benefits. Mr. Fetterman, how are you going to make sure it is there for them? You have 60 seconds.
We need to make sure that Dr. Oz and the Republicans believe in cutting Medicare and Social Security. And I believe that they have to support and expand Social Security.
It seems like he's reading the responses are being given out to him on the
Washington, D.C.
You know?
I would support and stand and to support security.
Sounds like a
Social
robot.
Security.
It's super weird.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Oz. Same question to you. How are you going to make sure that Social Security is available for future Americans? You have 60 seconds.
We made a deal with the wonderful seniors of our nation. They worked their hearts out. They paid into a program. No one's going to touch it on my watch except to make sure that it's stronger than it is right now. Social Security, Medicare, which I know a lot about as a doctor, are the fundamental element of security for our seniors, and they deserve to feel like they're valued by our nation. John Fetterman, again, has been running ads and saying that I'm against those with no proof. I have never said anything different than what I'm saying to you on this stage. But in an effort to fearmonger with people who are older and can be taken advantage of, he'll run these ads. John, it's reprehensible, but it's also reflective of your approach to doing these things. You haven't shown up on the campaign trail. You haven't answered questions from voters, not once on the campaign trail. You haven't answered questions from media once on the campaign trail, even just to show off that you could do it. And this is the only debate I could get you to come to talk to me on. And I had to beg on my knees to get you to come. And if it wasn't for Dennis probably getting involved, I don't think it would have happened. Seniors need to know more about your radical left positions, and I need to be able to tell them about my positions. That's what democracy is built on. We exchange ideas, the voters decide. You have hidden from them.
Mr. Oz, I'm going to let you have 15 seconds in a moment, Mr. Fetterman, but can you give us a specific example of what you would do to protect Social Security?
Well, for one, we have to make sure that it adequately increases with the higher inflation rates that we have. So we've got to make that 4% of wasted money that right now is in the budget redirected appropriately. And one of the first places that I would use it is Social Security and Medicare. And here's the reason. One of the worst things we can do to a people is give them bad quality care. And so if you have if you have people who are not going to see a doctor, for example, because they can't afford it, they'll get sicker. Bad medicine means more cost. No one benefits.
Thank you. Mr. Fetterman, he said a few things a moment ago. I want to give you 15 seconds to respond to those.
Now, again, I can't just say one thing other than that Dr. Oz would not support, and he would support cutting Medicare.
He would not support.
John, why do you say that? I've never said that.
It's absolutely a fact. It's a fact. You would have voted against the Inflation Reduction Act, which has dropped our prescription drugs, and he doesn't believe.
Okay, gentlemen, we need to move on. Lisa.
All right, we are moving on to the topic of education. The cost of college tuition is now out of reach for many, many families. Our question is for both of you. We start with Mr. Oz. What is your plan to bring down the cost of higher education long term? You have 1 minute, Mr. Oz.
I've worked in academic medical centers my whole life, so I'm in higher education. And I can tell you the reason that the prices have gone up sixfold in the last 40 years is not because the education quality is better. We've added extra layers of middle-level individuals who don't actually improve the quality education, in my opinion. There's a lot of expenses now incurred by these institutions, and it's not right for the American people to be stuck with the bill. I would push them to offer more electronic classes. Half the kids don't live on campus anyway. John Fetterman's approach, however, is not to deal with the unnecessarily high costs, but just to pay it. So if you want to pay students who didn't pay their loans back, basically what John Fetterman and Joe Biden are arguing for is for plumbers who didn't go to college and couldn't, for a bunch of reasons, afford it, to pay the bills of lawyers who went to graduate school and haven't paid their debt back. I don't think that's right for the American people. We want a fair system. Drop the cost down by pushing for more value for the money we're spending, and then ensure there's a high-quality education that lets people make a living when they graduate.
All right, I will allow a 15-second rebuttal specifically on the issue of student loan debt, which Mr. Oz was referring to. Mr. Fetterman.
Again, Dr. Oz, loves free money when it's a $500,000 tax break on one of his, homes down in a ranch in Florida, and whether it was a $50 tax break, about his farm in Montgomery County. So it's about supporting and helping, young earners, young students to give them a break. I believe that supporting.
All right, let me just ask specifically.
Oh, no, she cut him off.
Ease student loan debt, the debt
Reminds me of
forgiveness of
Breaking Bad.
$10,000.
He said $50 tax break. $50 bucks. Everybody would be happy with that.
Do you support
See if he
that
goes,
position?
again.
I do absolutely support that. I believe, like
a
I
little
said,
blow 'em up belly, you
it's
mean?
about helping young learners, be able to get a better start, getting off in the start of their life. And I do believe that, and I believe a majority of Americans support that as well too, helping young learners.
All right, Mr. Fetterman, I want to ask you the same question that I asked Mr. Oz. And what is your plan to bring down the cost of higher education long term? You have 1 minute.
Yeah, I don't think he didn't answer. He didn't answer the question whatsoever.
I did answer the question.
Mr. Oz, please give him a moment.
You didn't. I fundamentally believe that every quality public university education should be very affordable in every state, and I think that needs to be a significant investment. To make sure that anyone be able to afford to go to get a 4-degree. University degree, at say Penn State or any state schools to make it much more affordable, and that means a significant investment to make sure and create it affordable that every family can afford.
How exactly, Mr. Fetterman, do you propose doing that to make it more affordable for families?
No, I just believe. I just making it that much more.
It
costs too much, and I believe providing the resources to reduce the tuition to allow families to be able to afford it.
All right, we have a follow-up question. This one now is for both of you. This is from News Nation viewer Ann Andrews, a registered nurse from Conneautville near Erie. Ann is a vocational educational instructor for a university and a practicing registered nurse.
If you were elected, could you please tell me what you would be doing for vocational education in the state of Pennsylvania as well as our nation?
So, Mr. Oz, if elected, what would you do for vocational education? You have 30 seconds.
I've visited vocational schools. I have an answer. But, John, because obviously I wasn't clear enough for you to understand this, there's no question that cutting out the middle levels of higher education and providing digital programs would reduce the cost of education. It's a concrete set of ideas that I'd like to move on. With regard to vocational education, this is really important for us to allow our trade unions to get more closely linked with the vocational schools. I was in a vocational school in Westmoreland, and they have about 1,000 kids. They could take 2,000 kids. Funding those programs is the smartest way to invest our tax dollars. We'll turn out twice as many children who have a job as soon as they graduate. It supports our trade unions who want those kids in their positions anyway. It makes the whole program.
We're watching the Republicans win the Senate.
Mr. Fetterman, if elected, what would you do for vocational education? You have 30 seconds.
Again, I think it's just the same way university 4 degrees as well too. Supporting that and partnering with the unions and making sure that vocation training are is affordable, and providing the resources to make sure everyone has the opportunity. Going to college isn't the right choice for every person, but going to those kind of vocational schools, able to create a career to reach a lot of high salary, and again, supporting to reduce those costs are critical too.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
This race is costing more than $250 million.
Have called for the Supreme Court to be expanded. Candidates, we want to know where you stand on this. Mr. Fetterman, should the Supreme Court be expanded, and if so, by how many justices? You have 60 seconds.
I don't believe, I don't stand, and I don't believe in that. I fundamentally believe that even though I don't agree with the ideological breakup of the Supreme Court, I believe it's not about changing the rules. It's about acknowledging where we're at, much the way the Republicans want to try to change the Constitution about how our Supreme Court in Pennsylvania was going to be done, and I don't support that. So I think it's critical that we be consistent, and I do not believe in supporting the Supreme Court.
Mr. Oz, same question to you. Should the Supreme Court be expanded? If so, by how many justices? You have 60 seconds.
I would never touch the makeup of the Supreme Court, and I would advocate to leave it the exact same size it is. But John Fetterman's radical positions have spilled over into what he would do in Washington. One of the first things he has said, and he came back to the campaign trail, is that he wanted to bust the filibuster, which means removing the brakes on the Senate overreacting. That's
true. That is true.
But if you do that, then you would free up the Democrats in the Senate without getting the normal amount of votes to actually expand the Supreme Court, add more states, do things that are detrimental to the well-being of the country. So I think, on your first day back, arguing that we should get rid of the filibuster is a dangerously radical move that would hurt Washington. It's not in our nation's best interest.
Yeah, it would lead to a civil war. No joke.
Thank you both very much.
All right. At this time, we are ready for our closing statements. You each have 90 seconds to convince Pennsylvanians to vote for you on Election Day. Mr. Fetterman, you are first. 90 seconds.
Once again, I would just like to say that my campaign is all about fighting for anyone in Pennsylvania that ever got knocked down, that had to get back up again. I'm also fighting for any forgotten community all across Pennsylvania that ever got knocked down, that had to be made to get back up. I've made my entire career dedicating to those kinds of pursuits. I started as a GED instructor back in Braddock over 20 years ago because I believe it's about serving Pennsylvania, not about using Pennsylvania for their own end interests as well. To me, careers are revealed by your real underlying values. And my values have always been about fighting for forgotten communities all across Pennsylvania.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fetterman. Mr. Oz, your final thoughts, 90 seconds.
He didn't say anything.
I've loved traveling to the four corners of the beautiful Commonwealth, and I've heard your problems. I'm a surgeon, doctor. I listen to what you say, and I'm trying to help address them today. I've talked to seniors worried their Social Security checks wouldn't go far enough with the raging inflation. I've talked to couples when I make their first down payment on a new house and they can't afford it anymore because of interest rates. I've talked to families.
You want to cut Social Security.
Mr. Fetterman, it's his turn for his closing.
I've talked to families worried about fentanyl showing up in their mailbox and literally taking the lives of their children who they find blue in bed. I've talked to families who won't let their kids go outside because of the crime wave that's been facilitated by left radical policies like the ones John Fetterman has been advocating for. But here's the deal. Right? None of this has to happen. This is all very addressable. I'm a surgeon. I'm not a politician. We take big problems, we focus on them, and we fix them. We do it by uniting, by coming together, not dividing. And by doing that, we can get ahead. But I've got one question to challenge you with, just one question. If you take what I'm saying to heart, ask yourself this and others in your family. Are you unhappy with where America's headed? I am. And if you are as well, then I'm the candidate for change. I'm a living embodiment of the American dream. I believe we're the land of opportunity, the land of plenty. I believe we can balance a budget without recklessly spending. I believe we can have an unleashed energy policy that helps us all. I believe that we can have safe city streets and a secure border so legal immigrants can come across, but you shut the fentanyl out. I believe we can give parents choice in where their kids go to school. We can have affordable health care. But most of all, I believe in you. And if you can do this together, and we can, I would ask for your vote on Election Day. God bless you.
We do have one final question, an important issue in Pennsylvania. The eyes of the state are on this debate tonight, but on Sunday they will be on Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia as the state's two NFL teams go head-to-head. Mr. Fetterman, Steelers or Eagles, and why?
Eagles.
Oh, okay. Clearly, always for the Steelers.
Oh, Mr. Oz.
I'll be at the game rooting for my Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Gentlemen, thank you both so much. This does conclude our debate.
Bread and circus. We got the sports ball in. Yeah, that's really going to be important at the voting box this election.
Okay, I'm sorry. That was really hard for me, you guys. Like, I wanted so hard just to like scream every time Fetterman spoke because he wasn't saying things. And this is the important point about Fetterman and Biden. Is it my job to translate for you what he's saying? Baleen? He said Baleen? Like, yo, we make fun of Truna Nashabata pressure, Batacaf care, next no arrestant, et cetera, et cetera. Yo, he's got, I think, like 15 new words in that.
At least. Yeah. And it's the representative's job to translate your feelings into policy. It's not your job to translate the representative.
I like to make up new words, but this is on another level, even far beyond
it's
me.
the machine. It's the party of the machine, and they put people forward because the candidate doesn't matter. It's the machine that's behind them.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. The big money behind it.
Yeah. Gigander says, am I the only one to find the Dr. Oz and medically disabled Fetterman debate ironic? You know, I will say this, because we have a bunch of stuff we can talk about. I want to talk about Kanye for sure. This was Dr. Oz. I think he did a decent job. I was surprised. He actually answered some of these questions. Fetterman didn't seem to understand what was going on. No joke. It's not just that he needs the machine. So you'll notice there were two monitors. One was transcribing and one was delayed transcribing, probably because if he has to like look back and forth if he misses something. But how many times has Oz got to say, like, I'm not going to cut Social Security, and then Fetterman goes, he's going to cut Social Security. It's almost like he couldn't understand what was being said.
When Oz was like, I'm going to digitize portions of our education system and get rid of the administrative staff bloat. And then Fetterman was like, you didn't even answer the question. He's like, I did. I said, I'm going to, and like he repeated the answer. That was just, I don't know if there's enough words to describe or an effective word to describe how painful that was.
They clearly coached Fetterman. He had some canned lines that he put in there. He had practiced saying Roe v. Wade like 4,000 times. So he had, they gave him some coaching and then thought they could let him loose, but it just didn't work.
What's up with him saying words the same way every time? Roe v. Wade. Because I support Roe v. Wade. And I'm for Roe v. Wade. It was almost like, you ever listen to those automatic voice things where it's like, hello, you have reached. And it's because the word was recorded one time and then the program spliced them together so it like doesn't. That's what it sounded like. That to me was nuts. What we were watching right there is the Republicans winning the Senate.
I got to say, I'm not a huge fan of Dr. I mean, I don't hate him. He got my vote. If I had to vote in that election, man, Oz all the way, dude. He's laser focused compared to the other option.
Yeah. We've been making fun of Dr. Oz. I think he's a bit goofy. But here I just watched two guys. And you guys ever watch that Family Guy episode where they hire an ugly chick to stand next to Meg? This is so by comparison, she looks more attractive. Yeah. That's exactly what that was. I thought Dr. Oz was bad. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, Kathy Barnett could be there, run in circles. And then Dr. Oz, he didn't do bad. He had some good answers. His closing statement, not bad. Yeah. Not bad. His talk about college, I think college is dumb. But talking about, like you said, digitizing elements and getting rid of the bloat from the administrative staff, I'm like, I actually like that. And then Fetterman's just like, you didn't even say anything. And it's like, whoa, dude. Look, normally in politics, Donald Trump, let's say you got Trump and Biden or something, or no, Biden's not a good example because he's very similar. But let's say you've got like, guy A, guy B. One guy might say like, I'm going to lower gas prices by doing a tax holiday. The other guy says, you're not even proposing a real plan to lower prices. That's an argument, right? Because you can argue that a tax holiday is not permanent, and then everyone argues. When Fetterman says you didn't answer it, it just sounds like he's unable to comprehend what's being said next to him. But I want to warn everybody. We're all saying, like I just said, we're watching the Republicans win the Senate. They voted for Biden. They voted for Biden despite turning on a shower of pressure and all that stuff. Actually, he may have said that after the campaign or whatever. But the point is, we all knew Biden was hiding in the basement. We knew he wasn't going to campaign. And maybe that's why. Maybe the Democrats knew that if Biden went out and actually tried to debate more than a few times or campaign, it would be endless commercials of gibberish, garbled nonsense. Right. And that's why they don't have him do it. And he kept calling a lid and hiding.
I was wondering if that was like the technique, if they make people feel bad for him, literally feel so bad for him, like, oh, well, we'll just give it to him. I don't know. I was going to ask you if you think that was even like a thing they would try.
I have no idea. But like I said, I just looked it up. $250 million rather in this race, $250 million. There's 10,000 people polling this, all sorts of consultants, and they've come out with, they think they can win this. They obviously think that they can win this. And after this, I don't know, but they think he's the way to go.
I'm imagining some like campaign PR guy who's like sitting in the office smoking a cigar, and he goes, Fetterman. And they're like, what, are you kidding? The dude just had a stroke. He's like, trust me. And then it's like this radical plan where he's like this
what I'm saying.
city slicker salesman. He's like, people are going to want to vote for the guy who can't talk straight. You're mad. We're going to lose this. And then they're going to pull out a victory somehow. I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, they
to be
did that
honest.
joke. I don't remember what it was, but when George W. Bush was president, I remember seeing some comedy sketch where the joke was he's folksy and an idiot in public, Fetterman. And then behind the scenes, he's like Mr. Burns or some like ridiculous intelligent
Well,
creature.
the gag we've brought up a couple times is that like Joe Biden's on stage. He got lost recently. He's like, where are we going? Where? And then as soon as he walks behind the curtain, he stands up straight and he goes, all right, let's get back to work, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's fucking do this.
Did they believe it? They believed it, sir. Good. If people actually thought I was of sound mind, I'd be going down with Hunter Biden at the same time.
What if there was like a pollster being like, oh, a lot of people are getting strokes nowadays. That's relatable. let's invest in this guy. And again, a $250 million. That's a lot of money that we're talking about here. And again, if you invest that much, you think you're going to let someone quit halfway? No, that's money down the drain. So I think, this poor guy is being pushed out there. Obviously, when you have a mental injury, when you have a severe brain injury, you need to rest. You need to take it easy. You shouldn't be on a debate stage with what New York Times is calling the most watched debate of this political season.
Wow.
This is not okay, and it's not good to watch. I felt uncomfortable watching it, and this is truly a disservice, not only to the people of Pennsylvania, but the people of the United States.
I want to believe that come the day after tomorrow, when the polls roll in, the polling is going to flip. Oz is going to take the lead, and with the already bias in the polling system, we're going to be looking at Oz winning. Again, I find Oz a little bit goofy, but hey, better than Fetterman for a lot of reasons. I want to believe it, but come on, guys, they voted for Biden.
Yeah.
Isn't there a strong possibility people watched that and said, don't care?
Well, the thing is, people really didn't like Trump. That's what Biden had, his ace in the hole, and people don't really dislike Oz. They might, have some issues here and there with him, but Trump evoked the ire in humans.
I think
not
people,
and no one come before that I've ever seen.
I think the reason Trump may have endorsed Oz is because people do like him. And his attitude was like, look, Oz is a celebrity. He's a people person. He's a people pleaser. And we're politicos. So we are like Kathy Barnett was the right option. But Trump knows his stuff. He's probably thinking PR wise, you've got a famous TV doctor or Kathy Barnett, who we respect more, but she's very much hyper political.
Take policy out of it. Think of what a normal person who doesn't know anything about politics thinks after seeing this. There's a guy, I respect him. He's polished. He's clearly articulate. He's got a med degree. I've seen him on
before.
TV.
Yeah.
That's him. Okay, he's fine. Then there's another guy. He looks like a bub. I feel a little bad for him. He shouldn't be up there.
No, of course
he shouldn't
not.
be up there.
Do you think they put Fetterman on stage right because of his neck? If they put Fetterman stage left, the camera angle would have shown the massive growth or whatever he's got on his neck.
Yeah, they control and micromanage almost every aspect of this debate. The questions that are specifically asked are a lot of times random. Sometimes they're leaked to the candidate, just like we saw with Donna Brazile and Hillary Clinton. But when it comes to the stage, the breaks, the time, everything is negotiated between the two candidates. So it wouldn't surprise me if Fetterman said, and his campaign said, hey, we want to be on this side of the stage. And, they debate that all the time, and they negotiate for those spots.
Someone super chatted, Sobek mentioned that if Fetterman wins, he's going to step down for health reasons and then give, assuming Shapiro wins the governorship, an appointment.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what it'll be.
Interesting.
Someone totally uncharismatic, like a very, very dark person
Wow,
who couldn't win.
I'd love to get a
Yes,
some Goldman Sachs banker.
Harris.
Yeah.
Some kind of ruthless corporate banker head
Literally
that, of course,
Mumia.
is just seething to just suck the blood out of the poor working class blue collar people of Pennsylvania, just like most politicians. But
They're literally going to appoint Mumia.
Mumia?
I don't know who that is.
Never mind. It's a big Philly thing. He shot a cop. Never mind.
Oh, yeah. And there was a
know.
big controversy with Snapple and that as well. Yeah, it's a big case.
Mumia Abu Jamal?
Yes.
Political activist. That what they did in New York. What they did in New York. I was just listening, and I do not want to start making fun of John Fetterman having a post-stroke hard time talking, but what they did in New York, even Oz started to mesh his words because he's sitting next to Fetterman like in that state of mind. It's crazy. But that's what they did in New York with Kathy Hochul. They just put her in position of power.
And she's horrible.
Could you imagine if someone here was unable to speak or understand and we thought we would keep doing the show? I'm sorry, you guys. Like, I've had days where I was losing my voice, so I'm like, can't do the show.
Yeah,
you got to take
the
your
show
health,
comes
man.
first, and the country comes first. The job comes first.
Right.
But I mean, like, what I'm saying is like your health does. I'm not going to try and do a show talking like this You know,
what I mean is, if someone can't do the show, you got to put the show first and take them out. They can't be part of this because they're going to ruin the process. And
yeah, Fetterman should not be here. I mean, look, imagine he's standing next to, he's in the Senate, and he's standing next to McConnell or somebody, and they quickly come up and say, John, you got to understand what we're pushing this bill because it matters the most that we get inflation down right now. So we got to cut spending here. We got to cut spending here. We're going to look at a 2.3% increase. You need to get on board with this. I'm not going to ask you twice. And John goes, what?
He's going to be a terror to work with. I would hate to be a staffer.
Do you think that when they're debating and negotiating on Senate floor, they're going to be having a big machine so that when someone walks up to him personally and says, I need you to back me on this one, a Democrat even, Democrats need to consider this for themselves. A Democrat's going to walk up and say, John, vote yes, we need to get this bill done. He's going to go, I believe, you know? And then they're like, great. And then it's going to come and he's going to go, no. And they're going to be like, what is it? It's like, well, you supported him, dude. But no, that's why I think he'll step down.
John, press wrong button.
Yeah.
So if he were to win, he would immediately step down. That's something.
I mean, that sounds reasonable. There's no way this guy can function in this job. This is insane.
It would drive all of his compatriots insane. All the Democrats would hate the guy. They would loathe looking at him when he walked in because of what a mockery he's making of American of law and order and the political system. Like, it's amazing that the people even had the patience to put him on TV like that.
I know what's going to happen tomorrow because I know it's already happening right now. Across this great nation, there are many a meme smith sitting at their computers, clipping away and producing mashups, songs, auto-tunes. It's just going to be insane tomorrow because when you have this guy, remember when he said recently, he was like, send me to Washington so to push work for work. And you're like, what did he just say? Bro, I'm sorry, man. I'm not trying to be mean, but the dude didn't say words. I mean, he said words, but they don't go together. Imagine. We just got an hour of that. An hour.
Philly Inquirer is going to say he did great, though.
They're going to translate for him.
Yeah.
This is what they do for Joe Biden. Joe Biden will be like, inflation has got to, because it's too high, and, we're going to work and make it, down. And then the news report, the paper will say, like, Joe Biden said that inflation was too high and that we need to get it reduced immediately.
With ellipses?
No, they won't even put a quote. They'll be like, Joe Biden expressed outrage over high inflation costs and promised to get the price down. When his quote is bad enough, where he says, like, come on, man, and like the prices, are very high, they'll use ellipses. And it'll be like, Biden said, quote, the prices are too high, ... we got to get them down. But if it's too much gibberish, I'm willing to bet this. Tomorrow, a bunch of the papers, all Democrats supporting, aren't going to quote him directly. They're going to say, in response to a question from Oz, Fetterman expressed X, Y, and Z.
Paraphrase.
Exactly.
I have a counter viewpoint. I think this is, again, just speculation here, is going to win, is going to become one of the biggest politicians out there. And I think there's going to be a Biden-Fetterman 2024 ticket that's going to absolutely take it, because what better opportunity for multinational corporations than to, of course, embed people in candidates that actually don't know what's going on, that could just rubber stamp all of their policies, which happens right now, according to my own personal opinion, with the Biden administration. I think it's clear as day. He's not in charge here. The people who put him in charge, they're the one calling the shots here. They're the ones pushing the Great Reset. They're the ones building back better. They're the ones destroying the American economy and, of course, stopping domestic energy exploration and production, which is deliberately creating an energy crisis right now.
The campaign slogan for Biden-Fetterman 2024 is going to be like, Bertafan, Bergiv, come on.
Shamna Shepard.
Shaba. And people are going to be like, what?
It's funny, but it's true. I mean, like, a lot of people study how White Houses are structured. And with Trump, I mean, if he had something had happened to him, everything would have been chaos because everything went up to the top. It was very personal. With Biden, you've got all these little czars. You've got Ron Klein, Gina McCarthy,
Podesta in there as well.
Podesta. If Biden goes away, the machine continues to clack because he doesn't matter. And I think it's the same with Fetterman. He doesn't matter. It's the machine.
I'm sorry. I just need to stress this before we wrap up this, segment. I want you all to realize where we are as a nation. We're at a point where one of the oldest and most prominent political parties has decided to run someone with a severe mental disability, restricting their ability to comprehend words that are said before them. We can make it a little bit more crass. We are at the point where the Democrats are running and have run and won with brain-damaged candidates. I'm not saying that to dig at Fetterman. I'm not using brain damaged as a kind of insult. It is a fact. Joe Biden, I believe, had an aneurysm and he got metal plates put in his brain.
Yep.
He struggles to speak. Fetterman recently, within the past, what was it, 5 months ago?
It was in May.
Had a stroke. I feel bad. I do not wish that on anybody. But you got to know when to bow out. But here we are in America. This is the point where this nation is. A man with a severe mental disability just stood on a debate stage for an hour. And there are prominent media and activists who are acting like this is good and okay and the right person to vote for. They may have well, in my opinion, conceded the race immediately to Oz. And I do not understand what they're hoping to gain out of this.
Oh, geez. I hope people can see reality. I really do. I don't know how distortive. I know drugs can really mess people up perception-wise, and you don't see things that are happening sometimes. Food also, I'm afraid, can do that. But I hope to God people see that debate and see it for what it was.
There was a really funny moment where he just said, "I just believe." When she was like, "How are you going to get costs down?" He said, "I just believe." Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that sums up the Democrat position on a lot of things.
Yeah, and also randomly yelling and screaming doesn't really make you look strong. No.
This is brutal stuff, man. Yeah. Let's talk about the Civil War that's coming. How about that, guys? We got
everyone
the story
drink. Take a shot.
Everybody drink. All right. Arizona sheriff steps up security around ballot drop boxes amid reports of intimidation. I wanted to ask you guys about this because we have this story. Some guys wearing bulletproof vests. They had guns. They're in Maricopa County, and they're sitting next to some ballot drop boxes. Apparently, there's an organization that's advocating for watching these ballot boxes. And I said this was going to happen. I said, after like 2,000 mules and after a lot of these claims, people are going to go to the drop boxes and they are going to watch. Then you're eventually going to see Antifa show up. We've already had one woman show up and confront him. The cops got called. Now the sheriff is sending, I guess, security, police to monitor these boxes. And I don't know. Does this escalate? What the Bulwark wrote, and we're all big fans of the Bulwark. They're the conservative neocons who hate Republicans. It's weird. They wrote that their scenario that they fear for escalation of civil war is that at a polling location and on the midterms, someone is there observing, someone on the right, they're armed. They see someone who they think is committing fraud or something. A fight breaks out, a gunshot rings out, a poll worker is on the ground bleeding, someone films it. That was their scenario. My scenario is simpler. Two guys show up, they got bulletproof vests and they got guns. They're watching the ballot drop box. A leftist walks up to him, starts screaming, saying, "Get out of here, you're white supremacists." A scuffle breaks out, nothing serious. The police are called and the police are forced to start pushing people back. Nobody can vote. The polling location is now closed and a dispute arises as to whether or not the election can be legitimate if polling locations are being shut down.
I don't know where we go from here. People don't have faith in these drop boxes. And just to take it back a little bit, I think it was Philly where they had the Black Panther Party that was intimidating voters back maybe a decade ago or whatever, and nothing happened. So it goes back. We've had scuffles at polling locations. I think it was John Calhoun's father who took guns to the legislature to get his own district or whatever. So fights occur in these places, but people do need to have faith. We need cameras. We need enforcement mechanisms to make sure that there aren't thousands of ballots being dropped off. It happened in Muskegon County in Michigan. I'm hearing stuff in Wisconsin already. It happens
it's happening
all over
right
the place.
now.
Yeah, I think it's happening right now.
I think the question too is which states allow ballot harvesting and which don't, because some do.
Well, I mean, even in Wisconsin, where I served on Election Day and then helped out with that investigation later, there was a Supreme Court decision there where they said, you can't ballot harvest, but I'm still hearing that people come in with bags, you object, and they don't listen to you. So it doesn't matter if the law on the books is one thing, if there's no way for you to enforce it.
Well, I think the issue right now, depending on where this goes, is simple. I think people should be watching ballot boxes.
Yeah.
I think there should be cameras. I think there should be security. Hold on, let me slow down. There shouldn't be ballot drop boxes at all. We should not have election month. We should have election day. It should be a federal holiday. People should get time off to be able to go and vote and then enjoy nice beer and pizza with their friends afterwards or whatever. But if we're going to have any kind of polling location, then I think we should have security cameras on everything. That's it. The crazy thing to me is, how is it the DOJ is getting involved now, calling it voter intimidation. How is it intimidating someone that you're sitting there watching? Like, you're allowed to be in public, you're allowed to be armed, you're allowed to wear armor. None of that is a crime. If they started screaming at people and chasing after them and stuff, yeah, okay, there you go. But they're claiming that someone came up and then some people started taking pictures of them and they're like, that's intimidation. And it's like, bro, you're in public.
It's a different law, but it's the same story that we had with the FACE Act, which is the freedom to access clinic entrances, which they used against abortion protesters that often would just
they're using right now.
Right, they're using right now.
Yeah.
But there were some Supreme Court cases and you can't be as aggressive. But yeah, they're still using it. Here's another law where they creatively apply it to people to get their preferred ends. So
I don't know. What do you guys think is going to happen? Jeez, you want to go for it?
No, you go ahead.
Oh man, regarding these, I kind of agree that
I just think in general, not even just this. I think what happens on the 8th?
Unless you create faith in the voting system as a whole, I think it's going to slowly unravel. Right. And for that, it's like I don't like digitized voting counting proprietary software because I don't care if I'm mailing it in, handing it to a guy, putting it in a box, and he's carrying it. If it's being tallied by a machine and the code's in private, I don't know if they're flipping it 5149 behind the scenes. I've actually seen testimony of like developer that did that. Clint Eugene Curtis. I don't know if you ever heard his story, but he wrote the software to flip the votes 5149 for a politician. So
Democrats were making these same claims that Trump supporters were making. And you see the Hillary Clinton thing already? Mm-hmm. Hillary Clinton came out and said the Republicans are planning on stealing 2024.
It's okay. It's okay when she does it.
It's I don't even care at this point. I'm just like, the Democrat and Republican culture, the liberal and conservative culture is it's two distinct things, two completely different realities. And it's been that way for a long time. And now you've got both sides accusing each other of cheating. I don't care who you think is right, left, right, up, down, whatever. The fact is, two factions think both sides are stealing the election. Both sides disagree with each other's culture. How does that resolve itself?
Yeah.
Is just seriously, to the people who think it's silly when I say things like civil war, do you think the end result is going to be that like Hillary Clinton walks up to Trump and says, how could I stay mad at you? And then Trump's like, come here, and they hug? Is it going to be like the BLM marcher with the black mask on and the Molotov sees the Trump supporter with the MAGA flag, and then he drops the Molotov and goes, what have I become? And the Trump supporters, come here, buddy, and then they hug.
Is there a Pepsi there and
yes.
Kylie Jenner? There you
right.
go. That could work. Hey.
Do they think that Kylie Jenner is going to walk up to a BLM and Trump supporter and hand them both Pepsis? Then they're going to both look at each other and then hug? Seriously, though, for what reason at any point would any of this de-escalate? I'm looking for a legitimate argument.
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see any form of de-escalation. I'm seeing a lot of people adding fuel to the fire. I'm seeing this getting totally out of hand. This building up of calling elections illegitimate has been happening for many years now. The groundwork has been set for this. Specifically when we look at, the Trump election, the Russian collusion, and all the people coming forward saying, I don't trust this election. I don't trust this voting box. I don't trust this voting machine. And I think there are some, legitimate questions. I think a lot of people are also sensationalistic and hyperbolic in a way that doesn't serve anyone's interest. But at the end of the day, that's a good question that you asked here. And that's something that I've been thinking about for a very long time. And I see no off-road. I see no way of stopping this train coming ahead of a major disaster inside of the United States.
The only thing that I can see that can fix this is if you do have one party, and I would say probably Republican, landslide so that their side can see faith in it and then they win again, and there's some kind of strong agenda that they put in place that can bring people to heel. So
but if the Republicans wins, the Democrats are going to say that they cheated.
Beating people down is about the only way that I can see that this works.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Wrong. No. I don't agree. I think that if we see an overwhelming Republican victory, like Luke was saying, the Democrats will claim the Republicans cheated.
Sure.
The country's become fascist. And already there is this viral tweet where someone said, well, democracy is over. What are you going to do? And someone responded with, I'm going to join the resistance. Now, look, I'm not confident the left has the ability to form any meaningful resistance, but you need to, I've been harping on this because I've been reading a lot more about the Civil War. The South was a lot of states, relatively, but not a lot of people. It was like 2-1 north to south. They were the minority, a substantial minority. And then slave owners were an even smaller minority. So, we may think like Democrats might break Republican and independent, but looking at Hillary Clinton and her cohorts and the cult members, there's a strong faction there, and they're not going to accept a Trump victory. Now here's a scenario to imagine. There's a Supreme Court ruling that's coming soon that may set the precedent. The state legislatures decide who gets the electoral votes. I mean, that's literally what the Constitution says. And for the longest time, the legislatures have said, oh, we'll do an election. The people of our state vote, and then they vote for the electors to go and do it. We don't appoint them. But according to the Constitution, the state legislature could appoint the electors however they see fit. It is to be determined by them. The way the country's supposed to work, we vote for our state reps, senators, representatives. They then represent us to the federal government. We've slowly changed that with the popular vote for the president and with the 17th Amendment, the popular vote for the Senate. That could change. If this ruling goes down, imagine this scenario. 2024 election. Donald Trump versus Joe Biden, whatever. The popular votes come in, Biden gets it. The statewide votes come in, Electoral College goes to Joe Biden. But hold on there a minute. Lawsuits are immediately filed. Questions arise. Poll observers, witnesses, testimony comes out. Several states say we cannot issue a determination at this time. This puts the Electoral College up in the air. Two things could happen. We could see the House do a simple vote. We saw this based off of House delegations. There was a concern that in 2020, because I think there were 26 House delegations that were Republican or something like that, Donald Trump would have won if it was pushed to a House delegation vote. With this Supreme Court ruling, something else could happen. A state like Michigan simply says, evidence has been brought to our attention, which leads us to believe, this amount of votes or that amount of votes are not correct or are illegitimate. Therefore, we as the state legislature nullify them. The victory goes to Donald Trump. What would the left do in that position? They'll say Hillary Clinton predicted this. The extremist MAGA Republicans are stealing the country. And then what? Do you think they just say, well, I guess I'll go hang out at home?
This has happened before. I mean, there've been cases where states have flipped, and I don't see anything wrong with that process per se. I mean, the whole thing about, you can get into Republican form of government problems if the state legislature is not even holding an election or something like that. But at the end of the day, there have to be processes in place to count the votes, to make sure that there's a state actor who's certifying things and sending them to the archivist and whatnot. So I don't see a problem. It's happened before. I guess the main thing I'll say is I don't really see that as happening because, look at what happened in 2020. Mike Pence, wouldn't look under the hood. Nobody looked under the hood. You go state after state, people don't check under the hood because they've got people beating down their door. So I don't see that happening. You gave Michigan as an example. I don't see, Shirky or whatever his name is, the lead at the legislature there entertaining that sort of a thing. Time and time again, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, you see weak Republican leadership that doesn't do that. So I don't really see that as so much of a possibility. I see the more thing I see is states battening down the hatches in these purple areas on behalf of blue candidates. It's all very dubious, and no one ever has their views aired out. Nobody ever checks under the hood. So
the clips are coming.
Yeah,
right. Already, I got one from Greg Rice.
Anything we can play?
The beginning. We actually missed the beginning when Fetterman said, "Hi, good night."
Really?
Yeah, I reposted that one. Yep.
Nice.
So Fetterman is asked to clarify whether he supports fracking. Quote, I support fracking and I don't. I support fracking and I stand, and I do support fracking.
Great.
I love how they brought up the information and he immediately says, I never supported fracking. It's like we literally just read on the screen that said you supported fracking in 2018. I don't know how you're gonna debate that or like.
I think it's the other way around, that he didn't support fracking in 20. No, I don't know.
He didn't. I think he said he didn't.
The thing about fracking, and nobody really brought it up, is when they first were doing it, it was really dirty, and they've advanced the chemicals that they inject in underground, so it's a lot cleaner. From what I've heard,
it was an EPA thing. It wasn't like the workers. It was like the runoff and stuff like that. I just want to see someone splice his answer about I get knocked down and I get up again. I want to see tub thumping.
Yeah. He was appealing to the victim mindset. Like, if you're a victim, then I'm your guy.
Yeah.
Victims
versus surgeon. I'm a surgeon.
Yeah, versus a guy who saves people's lives.
Did you know I was a surgeon?
Here's a tweet.
We do surgery by bringing people together.
David Harsanyi says, if Dasha Burns was guilty of anything, it was downplaying the extent of Fetterman's problems. And I recall all the feigned outrage. Giselle Fetterman demanding consequences. Dasha Burns interviewed Fetterman. He had used a special device, and she said that during the small talk, it wasn't clear he understood what she was saying. And a bunch of people on the left said that it's ableist, that someone with mental disabilities and brain damage should be allowed to hold office. And, you know, they were outraged. And they said that she was wrong and it was offensive, and that criticizing Fetterman was akin to criticizing someone who needed reading glasses.
Wow.
Governor Abbott can't
A cursory viewing of the debate determined that was a lie. Dasha Burns probably could have been a bit harsher on Fetterman. That was I can't believe he agreed to do it. I mean, Katie Hobbs won't debate Carrie Lake. Fetterman could have just been like, nah. He's up 2 points. What does he got to lose? Well, I think they know the bias in the polls favors Oz, and so he had no choice. That was bad. I mean, are they trying to lose?
That crossed my mind, but it was kind of a joke. Like, is Fetterman a plant trying to get Oz elected? Like, does he work for Dr. Oz? Are we going to find out years later? Like, they were always friends. No, he's just a guy that broke, and now, but he doesn't want to let go of what he used to have.
Maybe the reason he said, you know, I support fracking and I don't, is so that the Democrats are able to make a video of him answering however they want him to answer. Do you support fracking? I don't. Fracking. I don't. I pulled the Fetterman. Do you support fracking? I don't. I stand. And then they're going to be like, oh, then they'll run commercials saying it. I think Oz should have just been like, the floor is yours, John. Speak. Just go for it.
Yeah.
I do think Oz needed a chance to explain his positions, though.
Yeah, it was enlightening to listen to.
Yeah. We didn't get into anything else, though. We had, you know, Kanye stuff.
What's the Kanye? Oh,
He's
yeah,
not
we're
a
coming
billionaire
up on
anymore.
Super Chats. Yeah, Kanye's net worth went from, what, $2 billion to $1 to $600 million-ish? He's lost about 3/4 of his wealth because his Adidas deal was canceled. Adidas canceled their, I don't even know what the deal was, but apparently it made him worth $1.5 billion.
Dude, Yeezys go for hundreds of dollars.
Yeezy shoes, as they're called, Yeezys.
And they're, you know, I just, like, I've never wore, I've seen them before. And then I was just like, I ordered a couple pairs when they said they were canceling them or whatever. I'm like, all right, we know, whatever. Not that I don't think I'm not going to sell them or anything. I'm going to put them on my shelf and just be like, you know, hey, these were a thing once.
What
you know?
could have been? His the Kanye West Lex Friedman interview was eye-opening. I think everybody saw at least a clip from it. Did you also?
I saw a little small clip.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of worth it. It was more of I think it was an attempt by Lex to emotionally connect with Kanye. They were both trying to be like, hey, we don't know each other. We both are engineers of a sort. Let's be friends was the kind of what they went into it. And it was contentious and kind of a mess because
I didn't watch it. I read it, and it just read to me as smarmy. Like he was talking down to Kanye and trying to play the, what's the problem, man?
I agree. Yeah, I was like, there's an opportunity to have a conversation with Kanye that's real and asks him to, you know, explain himself better. But I didn't get that in that interview. It felt like it was very much like, here's what the media said, so I'm gonna argue with you about it. And Kanye was getting frustrated. He was like, dude.
And then Lex gave him the, do you trust me? And Kanye was like, no. And Lex was like,
why should he?
I'm devastated.
Yeah, why should he trust him? He doesn't know him.
I'm so shook.
It like really hurt Lex. And it's like, I mean, at some point, Lex, you got to like be a machine. You know, it's okay. Trust is built over generations. It doesn't happen.
I don't trust someone I just met.
Why would you?
I wouldn't.
All right, we're going to go to Super
trust
Chats.
anybody.
We're going to go to Super Chats because this is a special debate episode. So smash that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to this channel. Share the show with your friends. We got a very important members-only uncensored show coming up having to do with New York and a court ruling on the vaccines and vaccine mandates. This is huge, by the way. Reversing all of these firings, ordering back pay. Devastating to those who marched in lockstep. But we'll talk about that for the members only. So smash that like button. Let's talk about some Super Chats. Elite says, Tim, I'm from Michigan and I just watched the Whitmer-Dixon debates. Tudor absolutely smashed her. Do you think you could reach out and get her on? Michigan needs a new governor. Thanks for all you do. I mean, that'd be cool. I'm down to have some more governor candidates. We've had Carrie Lake. We've had Doug Mastriano. They were both awesome. I think Carrie Lake could be president. She really, really knows how to handle herself with the media.
Yeah, I would love to talk to Miss Whitmore, especially about her healthcare record when it came to, of course, putting people in nursing homes. I think that's a big question that should be asked to her right now, and people should remember the past of how she, helped murder people.
All right, AI says, seriously, Tim, AMC's Rubicon. You wanna write that down? You have a pen?
Yeah. What was this?
Rubicon. It was that show.
What's it about?
I'll send it to you.
I don't remember what it's about exactly.
I'll watch it tonight. All right. Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says, Tim, I must say both shows last night were fantastic. What I appreciate is that while we can all disagree on many topics, we all still are on the same team, unlike that of the left. Forward the line. Here, man. Here.
Yeah, it's important to debate and challenge your ideas, always.
All right, let's grab some. Salty Duckling says someone should take the Hillary Clinton conspiracy video and put it over the InfoWars background. Oh, that's a really good idea, actually. Yeah, that'd be funny.
yeah.
But I think it'd be too insulting to Alex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That definitely.
All right. Rhiannon Tunnel says, I told my brother's girlfriend the Constitution technically gives me the right to keep and bear nukes. She was horrified, but had to agree I was right. Yeah, I'm not wrong. You know, these people, I think it was like the Young Turks. They were like, was it somebody? Tim Pool thinks people should have nuclear weapons. I didn't say they should. I said the right to keep and bear arms. They didn't specify. You know, like, can you have a microwave gun?
I would imagine. Yeah, I don't know.
It's like, this is the crazy thing. We talked about this with weapons. If you're when your waiter comes to you and hands you a steak knife, did he just give you a weapon?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he handed you a weapon, right? Mm-hmm. So a reasonable person would probably be like, no, it's a steak knife for your dinner. Aha, but what if he then whispered in your ear, that's your target, and then pointed to an old person?
Oh, now we're talking imminent threat. That's illegal.
But see, the point is, he handed you the exact same thing. Context doesn't change the fact that it is a weapon. So when it comes to keeping bearing arms, knives, microwaves, whatever, dynamite, they're all weapons.
What's not a weapon?
I suppose you could argue technically something that was not designed with the intent to cause damage to a biological or structural entity.
Yeah,
right?
but I mean, like, assault with a deadly weapon could be a rock, a heavy rock.
Yep.
Wasn't designed.
Exactly.
Cheeseburgers.
I guess whether or not it's a weapon is determined after the fact.
What if you shove a cheeseburger into someone's mouth? Like down their throat to block their airways. Like, would that be assault with a deadly weapon?
I don't know. Maybe in some states, but
you
I don't know
weaponized a cheeseburger.
I think honestly, the fair way to classify weapons is after the fact, because if you have a rifle that's never been fired and it's behind a glass case, it's technically just a gun. It's not a weapon until you use it.
Well, they do this in law. They do categorize things ahead of time, whether it's a weapon or not, and usually the state law like includes lists of things and some description,
like a blade that's a certain length,
things like that. I mean,
like,
for switchblade laws.
But it's not accurate because a small knife is a weapon. A butter knife is a weapon. A rock is a weapon in the right hands or in the wrong hands.
Yeah, so we're talking about 10 or so different laws. One could be assault with a deadly weapon. One could be possession of.
You can make a toothbrush into a weapon.
Yeah, for sure.
Toothpick.
A toothbrush.
They do it all the time in jail.
That's right.
Water's a weapon.
I don't think the Second Amendment protects toothbrushes, though.
I'd like to look into that.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know, man.
You know, if you look at the way they've
knives
done,
considered arms. Bayonets were.
They're not. Well, I'm not sure that knives are considered. Well, maybe knives are considered arms. Yeah, sure.
All right, let's read some more. This is a good one from Jen Desai. Says, if Fetterman cannot communicate without a device, in an emergency where power or internet fails, he becomes a major liability. I want you to imagine you decide Fetterman should be your rep, and he goes to D.C. And let me ask you, Democrats, do you think January 6th could happen again? All right, I want you to imagine Fetterman standing there when a January 6th type moment happens. What do you think that man does?
Nothing.
Look around confused, wondering who's saying what as everyone's murmuring and screaming, and he's seeing people run in every direction. And someone walks up to him and looks him in the eyes and goes, and he goes, I have no idea what's being said to me right now. And they're saying, run, you need to run now. And he just stands there confused, like, what's happening?
Yeah. I agree. I feel like he's kind of wait and be told what to do kind of guy in the state that he's in right now, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Connor Ski says, I had a stroke 3 years ago at age 25. I wouldn't consider myself fit for a job this important. Maybe a good guy, but still. Look, man, I really am saddened by this. I don't wish this on anybody. It can happen to anybody.
Yeah, literally.
Same thing with, these people mocking those who get like Bell's palsy or whatever. I'm like, dude, there's a lot of things that cause Bell's palsy. I've seen stories of people who used like wasp spray, and then 2 weeks later they're like, oh, the chemical may have caused something or other than that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just try to say, like, let's not drag people for stuff like that. I think he should be criticized because he should not be in this position.
Totally.
He should have walked away.
And you should be able to say that. That's the thing. You should be able to say when someone has something that's in between them and a job, you should be able to say something about it.
Right.
And I think they try to put up these walls like you can't. You can't even talk about it. It's ableist.
Mm-hmm.
Amber Bird says, don't forget Bill Gates declared there would be a hung election and then a subsequent civil war. He is awfully good at destructive predictions. You think that's true? He's good at predictions?
Yeah, he's very good. He's remarkable at a lot of predictions.
So he said there will be a hung election.
Well, this is, I think, relating to the Civil War comment that we were talking about a couple days ago.
Bill Gates said in an interview, there will be a hung election and then a civil war. He didn't say there could be or I hope there won't be. He said there will be.
Yeah.
That was freaky.
Yeah.
Yeah, he also has a team that monitors people talking about him on the internet for some reason. That's kind of weird.
If you had that much money, you'd do that.
I mean, to be fair though, like we have marketing people who and we do track certain terms for the show and everything. So I don't like listen to other shows talking about me though, you know.
But he was specifically talking about going after, quote, conspiracy theorists and individuals that are critical of him.
His quote was, political polarization may bring it all to an end. We are going to have a hung election and a civil war. That's complete insanity. I mean, first of all,
that's definitive.
He's just making an assumption.
Is he?
Yeah, a nice
control it?
For all you know,
Gates assumption. Look at that guy agreeing with us.
Yeah, we made faces early because you were like going to step on it or something.
No, I took some.
I thought you were going to crush it, and I was like, "Don't do it, don't."
Because it was on George Washington Buddha.
No, because it like releases a stink.
I've gotten rid of them before without.
You got to freeze them.
Yeah.
Freeze them. Yeah. I use like the duster and then they just instantly freeze and then they don't release the stink.
Yeah, the CIA bugs are everywhere.
They come back to life right away.
We're in a place where it's like one person's prediction versus another person's prediction, and who believes who. And if enough people believe the one prediction, then they're going to start living that life to make that prediction reality. And whatever. They're going to look back and be like, he was a prophet, that kind of thing.
Yeah, he controls people by saying it.
Lord John Einerson says, got my spot in Scotland next to you, Tim. Awesome sponsor. I added the word Lord because now apparently he's gone to our sponsor's website and
who is it?
Lord John Einerson.
Einerson.
He got his established titles.
Your newest neighbor.
Establishedtitles.com/Tim Pool. Now a neighbor, and we're landowners in Scotland.
Laird,
we were making a joke about this earlier. Like, do we get air rights? Like, do we get mineral rights? Can I drill down into my 1 square foot, find oil, and then like build like a 1 square foot massive oil pump? The whole machine fits into 1 square foot. Hey, the oil's mine. We'll see. And does that mean like you can't hold office in the U.S. anymore?
I hope not. Yep. I've also got a title.
I'm
up in the Highlands.
You're up in the Highlands?
Yeah, let us not come to blows.
So I looked it up. U.S. doesn't grant titles, and an office holder can't accept a title. But if you're not an office holder and you accept it ahead of time, maybe it's good.
All right. Justin says, Tim, please read Vandenberg Space Force Base Comm Squadron releasing member health information to others, forcing out member for identifying unauthorized network on base and going to IG. Member supervisor worked in base IG. Leadership culture of new branch not great. Interesting. All right. Omega Rasetsu says, Tim, I would like to correct you on something you stated on your 4 o'clock segment. The National Guard is federal, with the added step of the governor being in the chain of command. The uniform still says U.S. Army. Right, but what I mean to say is, yesterday I said, you're going to get, like, California. They have a California National Guard. The National Guard an individual is not going to want to be occupying their own neighborhood or town. They don't want to be that person. I mean, who would? For the most part, some people might, And then someone said, Tim, the California National Guard won't be enforcing federal mandate in California. And I said, right. They're not going to send people to their own neighborhoods. But if they do invoke the Insurrection Act and deploy military, you may end up with people from whatever branch who are from a specific area being like, I will not bear arms against my home neighborhood. Sorry, I won't do it. So my point was ultimately that you're going to see state divisions. You're going to see people in the military choose to side with their state, not because they care about their state, but because they care about where their family lives and they don't want to be the one pointing a gun at their friends. That's it. We'll see though, man. I don't know. Who knows how things play out? History doesn't repeat, it rhymes. Chanston Ippolito says 23% chance for a second stroke, 0% chance to finish a sentence without sounding like a robot. This debate is uncomfortable to watch, no different than the feeling following a Biden speech. The Republic deserves better. The people of Pennsylvania, they can vote for their own destruction. I mean, that's crazy, man. That's just sad. Charles Not Given says, my first super chat is heartbreakingly sad. A man that is struggling to make his brain work like it used to, and another mocking him for it. saying his policies are things in his imagination. Is that mocking Oz?
No, I think they're talking about John Fetterman, that he's become a mockery. But I agree with that, and I think that if he rested for a few years, that he could actually run reasonably for office, like if you let your brain recover. But right now, it's just so soon.
That's what's crazy for me, because I had a brain injury in 2015, and it's insane to me that he would do that. Like, how was it, in May?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's utterly insane to me that he would go into a debate on a national level and try and answer questions like that if he can't even read the prompt. It's just, I can't even imagine. That's why he's sweating so much. You know,
Yeah.
how he's like having to read all those things and pay attention to all this stuff. I do not understand how.
What was the recovery like for you?
Like I said before, I think we did it on the member segment, but it took me I thought after a year I was okay, but then after like 3 or 4 years, I was like, wow, after a year I was still not recovered whatsoever. It took me a lot longer, and I can't even imagine. He had a stroke, dude. It's a whole other level.
Yeah.
Was it like confusion is the main problem? Is there?
Confusion, also just like being able to speak and do simple things. Cause I had a frontal lobe injury, so mainly like my like my forward planning or future planning, and my emotional control was wild. It was wildly difficult just to be able to have conversations and just keep it together in a sense, at least initially. So he's within a year. That dude is, I don't even know. He's definitely being pushed by people to do this, I would think.
I mean, they probably, what would you say, $250 million?
Yeah.
They probably went to him, and he was probably, I wouldn't be surprised if he was like, I'm sorry, I can't do this. Yeah. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if he went, I'm sorry, I can't. And they said, we have put $250 million. But is that between Oz and him, or just him?
Oz and him. But see, I don't know about that, because you don't run for office if you're not a narcissist. Like a politician, dislike a politician. They all think they can do it. They all think they're great. So, I hope that he has that. That's dark if they did that, but really, it's more likely in my mind that he's like, yeah, I can do this. I can do this.
A lot of politicians are also sociopaths.
Yeah.
So
Very true.
That's why we love them.
Mostly Democrats, and then largely Republicans, but there's a handful of good Republicans.
Oh, sure.
Because for whatever reason, they have some like more libertarian-minded people, more America First type people.
Yeah, it's important to love yourself and have faith in yourself, but not cross the border of narcissism.
I've met some genuinely decent politicians. I think Joe Kent is one. Jeff Sessions, definitely a gentleman. But for the most part, and I would think Fetterman too. For the most part, Oz certainly.
Yeah.
IM says, the Dems are pure evil for making this man stand on the stage in front of the world. It hurts my heart, in all honesty, to watch this tragedy.
I kind of agree, honestly.
But it has to happen in this environment. Joe Biden is the president. If he's really suffering cognitive decline, we have to confront this head on.
Yeah.
We briefly turned the debate off. I was like, we can't do this. This is insane. He's not saying anything. It's just garbled nonsense. People want to hear it.
It's a train wreck.
People need to hear it, I guess. So
they should have asked him his opinion on Joe Biden's cognitive decline.
Oof.
It'd be cool if the candidates could ask each other questions.
Nah, I think that would get crazy.
Too dirty.
Yeah, because you'd ask a question that you knew was not true for the sake of being accusatory.
Yeah,
like,
that's a good point.
Ian, when did you stop beating your wife? You know what I mean?
Hey, you leave me out of this.
Right.
I say put boxing gloves on them and then be like, ask whatever you want. Go ahead.
Try election by combat.
I like that idea.
Yeah. I choose not to debate. I choose to win the election by combat. And then you put them both in the ring. And
Tetris.
Thunderdome.
Yeah.
What if it was a debate?
Thunderdome.
A physical contest like an obstacle course like Ninja Warrior, a physical battle like American Gladiators, and a mental battle like chess. And they have to do all of these things.
I would love it.
American Ninja Warrior, just the
a bunch of it would get rid of the 80-year-olds.
One guy would drink the mushroom tea beforehand and get all these bonuses. So
and then you'd
have to screen them.
And if you're physically fit, you're mentally fit as well, usually.
This is idiocracy accelerationism.
Yeah.
Might as well happen. It's going to happen eventually.
Let's go. No. This idea is good.
Yeah.
Like the idea that in order to be a politician, you have to be more than just good at speaking.
Yeah.
What do we get? We get a bunch of smooth talkers, silver tongues, and snake oil. Make it so that you have to be physically fit, you have to be mentally fit, and you have to actually win the votes.
And not be a coward.
Right.
Also, to fight somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, service
and know what it
guarantee
means
citizenship.
to get punched in the face.
That used to
I think
be-
a lot of people don't know what it means to get punched in the face.
No, many don't.
So that's a way to fix it. Have them fight each other. Let's go. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, like you earn a vote like a 0.01 times advantage plus on all the votes you receive if you win the chess match when you win the boxing match, when you win the obstacle course.
Hey, Bob got his ass beat, but at least he now knows what it means to get your ass beat, and he's not going to be talking trash, and he's not going to try to start another war, hopefully.
Legacy Production says, Oz is lucky Fetterman has health issues. Even with his speech, Fetterman is taking points away from Oz and saying agreeable things. I won't completely disagree with that. I think it was really bad, but, Fetterman... There was one point, I can't remember exactly what he said, but I was like, okay, that wasn't so bad.
I liked his thing on China. I thought that was coherent from front to back. And then Oz had something about, what's the most important American foreign policy problem? China. Threat, and Oz was like something, invade in Iran.
China was the right answer.
Exuding strength that we seem weak to the rest of the world. I think it's central banking. Neither of them mentioned it. I was a little disappointed.
The Mad Machinist says, given Biden's success, this guy is a shoo-in for the position. That's the sad thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ghost Pepper, what does this mean? He said, Baby Ruth.
What? Baby Ruth? That's from Goonies. That sloth. He yells that. He wants a Baby Ruth, and they won't give it to him.
That's right. That's how they bribe him.
Is that it?
Baby Ruth.
So bad.
Baby Ruth.
Why am I laughing?
I feel bad.
John Meyer says, is Hector Salamanca a moderator? I liked that one. Yeah. Because I recently watched Breaking Bad.
Same.
The
bell.
ding, 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 ding.
Dude.
Yeah. Hector Salamanca. Yeah. Well, but what that was going because there was no bell.
That's right. No bell. Mm-hmm.
I feel like that show should have ended at season 4. Like they dragged it on with the next one.
Yeah. Well, they were making money at that point, right?
It was like at its height. About season 4 is when the world was obsessed with it the most.
All right. Barely Insane says Fetterman almost sounds like Norm Macdonald doing a bit, but instead of being funny, it's sad.
Yeah, true.
Ooh, this is a really important one. Wow. Leor Engelstein. Brilliant. He writes, have you ever had a dream that you wanted him to do you so much you could do anything?
Wow. Well, I got that part of it. Yeah. Right. Wanted him to do you, and the answer, I want not to start to make fun of people with mental disabilities because of this stuff, but putting him up there, it makes him a mockery. This has been said before on this show. I don't need to reiterate, but I really want to have compassion for people that are suffering from mental injuries of any kind.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
But get him out of public office.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, he's currently lieutenant governor.
That's crazy.
Time to resign, John.
Yep. All right. Jem R says, in fairness to Fetterman, I just believe is the most honest answer I've ever heard a Democrat give about how they plan to make their utopia happen. Agreed. All right. Ingrate says, but those feelings over facts are going to love Fetterman's position on education.
What was his position?
I don't know.
I don't think he had one, did he?
I thought he didn't say anything. Other than you didn't answer it's the baleen. He said baleen. That was one of the words he said. Baleen. Yeah.
Yeah. His
am I going to I'm not going to translate that for him.
Those are the whale. No. Those are the things the whale.
Baleen.
Right?
Yeah.
Baleen.
They sift the krill through that. Yeah.
It's called baleen.
Baleen.
He was talking about whales.
Yeah.
It is. I do not play these games. If you say the wrong word, you said it. You said it. And they expect the journalist to come out here and start fixing it for them.
You can hear some meme forges firing up right now.
Okay, let's grab, where do we got here? Wise Guys, Dick says, how are you not doing a drinking game watching this? If Dems were sane or informed, Republicans just swept Pennsylvania. Yo, if we did a drinking game that like every time Fetterman said something that made no sense, we would all be completely obliterated. Yeah. We'd have slammed all of the remaining whiskey that we have, and we'd been begging, please stop.
In an hour, wow.
Yeah,
in the first 30
drinking's
seconds.
Not good for you. It shrinks your brain.
Let's see what we got here. A lot of people are basically saying the same thing, so, Ryan Farrell says, first super chat for my 33rd birthday. Love the show. Happy birthday, Ryan. We have this one from Christopher Fairley. Sobek is saying if Fetterman wins, he steps down for health reasons and Wolf or Shapiro appoints his wife. Oh, interesting.
Ooh, yeah.
There
What's
you
the
go.
deal with his wife?
Fetterman's wife?
Yeah, is she like some hotshot?
I don't know.
Don't know.
Probot says Fetterman will appoint his wife. Heck, Biden already said she would do well. It's already planned. We will see. A lot of people thought Kamala Harris was going to take over, that Biden was going to step down due to health reasons. It could still happen, I suppose.
She's not Fetterman What's her excuse?
I don't know.
This is his wife, Giselle Barreto Fetterman, Brazilian American activist.
Dragon Stallion says, all I heard Fetterman say was, I support it because I don't support it. That's right. I was like, what? I support it, but I don't support it. Huh? Well, okay, dude. Cricket Smile says, damn, Ian, be brightening up the place with that orange beanie.
Hey, yo. Glad you like it.
Everyone's wearing a beanie except me and you.
Yeah, true. It was odd on like the actual
noticed it. I need a beanie.
breakdown. It was two you guys on the other side and the left side with
This is
no
a beanie
beanies,
debate.
and then
We're
everyone else on
debating.
beanies on the other side.
Here's a good one. Yeah, but Trump says, lies. Luke's made-up vocabulary far exceeds Biden and Fetterman's put together. That is a fair point.
Yeah, maybe.
Lukeisms. Why don't you should make a shirt with all the? We should like write down
And the real
words.
definitions of what they
Yeah,
mean.
no, right. Yeah. Like Simpsons made cromulent and embiggen happen. You know that?
Yeah, I've heard you say words like it'll be like two sounds that aren't a word, but you put them together and it makes sense.
Yeah. Mine
No.
makes sense at least, right? Thank you, Ian. I appreciate
What do-
that.
what do you say,
Also, what are you guys
Austin?
hiding underneath the beanies? There's something underneath there, isn't there?
Just
Well,
what is in
a
there?
warm head, my friend. A warm head. What about you, Tim? What do you got under the beanie?
Nothing. Literally, nothing at all.
Just a vacuous space.
It's a yes.
another dimension.
It's a portal. It's a Atomisk will come out if I take the beanie off, so I can't. Yeah. Anybody who understands that reference, you earn brownie points. I'm sure most people probably. Well, actually, I don't know. Did you? I think Serge got it right. Nope.
That's enough.
No,
Nope. None of you got it.
what did
Picture
he
the
say?
villain from Final
Atomisk.
Fantasy.
no.
Atomisk will come out of my head if I take the beanie off. Who's gonna get the reference?
Watching the chat, but I don't see
I'm
anything yet.
cheating. I'm looking it up online. Atomus.
Atomisk.
Oh, Atomisk.
Yeah, that makes it easy. All right, well, you look it up and we'll read some more. All right, what do we got here? Conga Fool says, Luke, if DeSantis runs for president, will you try to make shirts for him, aka Make America Florida shirts?
We already have Make America Florida shirts. I think that's a
there
great
you go.
statement. Yeah. So,
Did you find
yeah.
it?
Yeah.
The chat already figured it out.
Atomsk.
Uh-huh.
Atomusku, also known as the Pirate King.
That's right.
Kaizoku.
The Pirate King.
Kaizoku. Oh, is that how you say
Yes, the space travel in Fulikuli is achieved through between the hemispheres of the brain.
I saw FLCO in the chat.
I've
and
seen
I
that
knew.
show.
Yeah.
I've seen the whole thing. I just don't remember the word.
No, me either.
Yeah, that was a great show.
Well, microwave. Yeah.
Only 6 episodes, and then they tried remaking it.
It's phenomenal.
No one, I don't think anyone cared for the remakes.
No.
That was just
It's
weird.
gorgeous. It's so emotional, and it's like such a 90s throwback, too.
Yeah.
Like the music, everything. It's great.
Oh, it's such a good show.
Yeah. Shout out Fully Cooley.
That's right. Shout out to everybody who got it right.
Yeah.
All right, let's grab some more super chats. Chris Scanapieko, probably pronouncing that wrong. I don't feel bad. Dude was awful even before his stroke. You know, someone can be bad, someone can be nasty, but I got to tell you, man, karma, you don't wish that stuff on people. You know why? Because then karma finds a way.
Yeah. Don't.
You'll come out. I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of people watch this show, and I don't know who it's going to be, but someone's going to be sitting there laughing and mocking him and just ragging on him and making fun of him. And then an hour later, they're going to collapse and their family's going to scream and they're going to have a stroke and they're going to be sitting in a wheelchair being like, now I understand. That's the way the universe works sometimes.
Yeah.
I've noticed that. Black magic, it's untargetable. Like you just say, I want that ill for a person, and then it just illness creeps into your reality. I think white magic works the same way when you want healing for someone, that the universe tends to heal you as a result as well.
I don't know about all that. I get it. But you know what I think is, I've seen a lot of stuff in my life that I would say defies probability, or at least what we think is probability, which either means within my limited human confines, we're predisposed to believe in something greater than us, or it means based on our basic understandings of probability and arithmetic, there are things that sometimes seemingly defy that, and we want to believe in something greater.
Geez, quantum entanglement, it's scientific fact at this point that objects can entangle within reality, and they start to interact like similarly. They vibrate together.
But it's one object.
Yeah.
What may be happening is that when electrons are entangled, is that you infuse energy on one and it moves, and then hundreds of miles away another one's moving, but it may be because it's actually the same object through multiple dimensions or something like that. But I'm just saying this. Throughout my life, there have been moments where I've been like watching a video and I'm like, that guy's so dumb, and then like I high five my friend and we make fun of a guy, and then like a week later they're like, I want to introduce my friend, and I'm like, it's the guy, and I'm like, oh, geez, now I feel bad. And so I've learned at a young age, like, I would rag on somebody skating, and then I would fall and be like, I'm never doing that again. Like, I'm just gonna mind my karma and just try and be nice. Learn that lesson very young. Don't mock people who are suffering. Wish for them the best for one reason, because when it happens to you, you're going to wish for sympathy as well.
It's so crazy that there's that state of mind, which I embody that, and then there's war, where the goal is to destroy another thing or person or society. It's incredible that we live in that binary duality. If it's only two, I mean, there's more than that going on. Like,
all right, let's read this one. We got Artemisia says he legit said, "quote I didn't read in the Statue of Liberty." He did. Yeah. I think he was referring to the plaque, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know, give me your tired, poor, huddled masses.
Ezra, whatever, yeah.
Okay, Happy Guy says, predicted says Oz will win 69%.
yeah.
Well, there you go. Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says, Tim, nobody high fives after insulting someone. I mean figuratively, like not literally. Like I'm like, hey, look at that guy, he's dumb. Yeah. Hey. I meant like we're like watching a skate video, and then we're just like, dude, that guy's pants are so dumb. Oh, he's gonna eat it. What a dork. And then later you fall and get hurt, and you're like, I'm not gonna rag on people. I'm gonna wish for only the best. Because like you don't want bad karma.
No.
Yeah. And at the very least, when bad things happen to you, you can be like, well, I did my best, right? All right, this is a very important one from Austin Carroll. He says, I'm pooping right now.
Still?
It's been going on for a while.
Why'd you leave that super chat?
Have a good poop.
Yeah, that's right.
Bowels.
That's right,
Use a squatty potty.
All right,
Dude, those
Austin
work
S.
here. Yep.
says, here in Minnesota, the governor didn't show up for a debate, so his Republican opponent had an uninterrupted Q&A session. Dems are doomed. What? Really? Just didn't show up?
Wow.
I know Carrie Lake did that basically, right? She had like an empty stage or something, and then she just answered questions.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah, man.
She's phenomenal. She's just always on. Always on.
All right, quick. Name a Democrat A-lister.
Me? AOC. I mean, I don't even know where
That's
to
a good
start.
point. Yeah, AOC.
Gavin Newsom.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't know why.
He's B tier. AOC.
Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, but Bernie Sanders is like
He's always been
retiree
B-tier.
status.
He's like
Whitmore.
37. He's about to be a free agent. They probably maybe won't get drafted or get hired again.
I mean, like an
Mayor
up-and-coming young star of high charisma and
Mayor
X Factor.
Pete.
No way.
No, I agree.
No
Beto.
way.
Like I'm naming
Nope.
people that they throw out there, but
Bernie's
they're
too
all
old.
terrible.
He's not gonna. He's very famous, but he's too old.
Yeah.
Newsom is not an A-lister. No.
But
Name a Republican A-lister. Come on, so easy.
There's like 10 of them.
Trump,
Yeah.
obvious.
DeSantis.
Noam, DeSantis, Kerry Lake, just
Carrie Lake. for sure.
just ridiculously obvious. And then, MTG, Lauren Boebert. These are massive personalities. AOC, I think, is fair.
Yeah.
But the rest of the squad, they've not been particularly prominent. And even AOC hasn't really been particularly prominent. The Democrats are just flopping around.
Yeah.
It's brutal. All right, everybody, if you haven't already, would you kindly smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, share the show with your friends, become a member at timcast.com. We're going to have a members-only uncensored show coming up for you at 11 p.m. You don't want to miss it. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL. You can follow me at Timcast.
Faster.
All right. You want to shout anything out?
You can go to my Twitter handle, Kloster, or my C3's website, personnelpolicyops.org.
Thank you for coming on. That was great.
I mean, the
so
show
much.
really got dominated by us just talking about the debate, but,
Oh, man, that's so depressing. I wouldn't watch it otherwise, and when you turn it off the first time, I'm like, thank goodness. Thank goodness.
And then,
I know,
and then the second time, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
But anyway, if you're looking for positive news, check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/We Are Change. Today, I covered the very optimistic New York Supreme Court case and decision that I think is absolutely worth
We're gonna
talking
talk about
and
that here.
celebrating. Yes, but I also got a video that people could watch afterwards and potentially right now. But also, usually I'm in the chat room all the time, and in the beginning of the shows, I usually ask the audience members to guess my shirt, and if they guess it right, they get the shirt and $100. And I want to announce that ahead of Zeitgeist, a user got it right, so I'm going to be sending you the shirt and $100.
wow, cool.
So congratulations, ahead of Zeitgeist.
I also have to announce that this weekend we're going to be officially putting together our Timcast membership giveaway, a new car.
Oh,
That's
wow.
right. And one lucky member at timcast.com has a chance to win a car. But you should wait for the rules and the video release before making any assumptions about what this really means. I will just say we got to check the legalities to make sure we can do it before we actually confirm we're going to be doing anything, because it is not. I think anybody who's watched the members only show, I'll mention it. Actually, I'll mention what our plan is in the members only show, but it's going to be funny. It's a gag, okay? Just want to let you guys know we're doing a bit.
Thank you guys so much for coming. And Andrew, thanks for experiencing the shared trauma amongst the group.
Thanks so much for having me.
It has bonded us and made us stronger and closer. Yes.
I don't feel stronger.
It was like battle. Yeah. I think it takes a few days to set in. It's like after working out, you feel all ripped up. And
That's
then,
right.
you know,
It's like PTSD.
You'll be stronger for it.
Flashbacks.
Catch you guys later. Fall Media in Crossland if you want to get in touch. I'll see you later.
And I'm Serge.com. You guys can follow me on Instagram. It's really the only place I'm usually active. I won't get a Twitter until Elon buys, so peace out.
This Friday.
We'll see you all over at timcast.com. Thanks for hanging out.